Hello and welcome. I'm Anti-Derivative Jill, and this is Indefinite Lunch in Infinite Combinations, number 21. Today I am joined with Tiger Stripes, and I'm sure that Pop Culture Curator will be here soon. Oh, here he is. Hello, Pop Culture Curator. Welcome to the show.
Sorry I'm late. I guess I was about 15 minutes off. I thought it was starting at the
Oh,
top of the hour.
I was going to do that, but I had failed in my endeavor to collect clips this time, so I'll have to be
Oh,
performing each of the lines that I want to.
bless you. Thank you. The less we see, the better. Thanks.
Oh. But there were two clips in particular I especially needed,
Uh,
which Yafet and Bortis said, which I think you like
okay.
those.
Good to
And
see you all. Hello, Tiger Stripes. Good to see you again.
one from Charlie that I don't think you'd mind hearing. Um, so Tiger Stripes, I'm gonna unmute her and see if she's here. Hello, Tiger Stripes, are you there? Okay, she's still having issues. I'll be checking the private chat to see if she comes back. So thank you for joining me today, Pop Culture.
As usual, it's my pleasure. The episode
Yeah.
wasn't exactly a pleasure to watch, but I enjoyed our review.
Yes. And when I got right down to it, half of it I liked. It's our 20th Orville review show today, and we've reviewed all of season 1 and 2, and we're going through season 3. And I needed I, I needed to remind everyone that we started the show out of love for the Orville, no matter what we think of what it's become. And so here is Doomcock's review of this episode. He really liked this episode. Um, and and you can clearly see how much he loves it, that he won't even spoil it on his pop culture breakdown show. So I know that pop culture and I are a bit in the minority here when we see something different in the show. I really wanted my channel to feature the positive in pop culture that the world has to offer, and seasons 1 and 2 are such perfection that I wanted the Orville to be supported through season 3 so that they could get a season 4. In fact, right now there's a campaign going on to get it renewed, and lots of people are hoping that it happens during Comic-Con this weekend. I still have my Orville and my shuttlecraft, the original shuttlecraft, on my mantle, but there are some episodes this season that I don't believe have presented both sides equally and without admonishment for one or the other, like Star Trek does. But if you do believe that it's doing that, and if it's doing that for you, then I can understand why you love this season, because I wish that is how I saw it. And hello in the chat to Hakeem. And I can also say that this season has unparalleled special effects, great alien designs, imaginative settings, constructed out of the love of creating something special. So from what I can also see that the love from the show could come from that as well. And also hello to Matt G. And on top of that, you have writing that makes coherent sense in which you can follow what is happening from one scene to the next. And that might seem like a simple thing, but it's something that many shows have lost in favor of nonsense dialogue and storytelling that is so convoluted and confusing, while shoving in baseless messages so disjointedly that it doesn't fit in the greater whole of the story. And the Orville doesn't do that. It interweaves everything pretty nicely. You can follow it easily. So also in that, I can see why it is still loved. And any criticism we have of the show is based on this clarity of messaging the show has, and what it seems to be saying. But if it's making you laugh and cry and have all those emotions, you'll probably be fine with all of it. But if not, you might see it differently. And so both views are equally valid. I'm going to do my best in these reviews to be positive while asking questions, but sometimes I need to be negative too. So just know that it comes from a place of love for the show that I mentioned these things, because I wanted the Orville to succeed. So pop culture and I need to be honest. And if we're not, you're going to be able to tell anyway. Speaking of which, I would like to remind everyone to make sure you're also subscribed to Pop Culture Curator. He's only 3 subscribers away from 50 subs. So please help him out with that. And
Thank you, Jill. That's great. I didn't realize. I guess I should pay closer attention to my channel. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. The link is in the description below and also here in the chat. And his latest video has cute baby poodles in it. So there's no reason not to go check that out. And Pop Culture, can you tell me a bit about your channel and what you have going this week before we get started?
I have my Ray Bradbury Theater Watch Party later today. If anyone's interested, I'll see if I have an audience for that. And I'll be posting more short videos. Honestly, I didn't know my poodle videos uploaded, but I'm glad they did. Okay. So I'll be and also live streams. I'll be doing some more live streams coming up here. I'm sorry if it's kind of vague, but I'm still sort of working on the format of my channel.
Oh,
But
nothing's
thank you
better
for
than a
having me.
random live stream that just pops up out of nowhere. You know, I'm bored and I don't know what to do, and I see a live stream going. If I
Yeah.
have time,
Hey,
I'll
you
join
And I
it.
guys,
gotta,
how's my sound?
there we go.
Oh, you have a little bit of creakly sound in there, a little bit, like,
I
but
have. Is it better now?
let's see. Your voice sounds beautiful, but there's like a little pops in there, but it's okay.
It just could be the quality of the mic on these headphones.
Okay.
Make sure everything's plugged in properly.
That's very likely.
But
Yeah, if that's the case, we'll go with it because you bring a lot of great insight to the show.
Right,
thank
it's
you
not
very
that
much.
noticeable, Tiger, and it's good to see you again.
Yeah. I only noticed it because it's my show.
And we just lost Tiger.
Oh no. Oh, I think she's probably going to reset her
Okay.
anything. Okay, I'll just yeah. So and hello to Dalek451. He's joined us today too.
Good afternoon, Jill.
How are you doing? And hello in the chat to Snortapoopus Q Burr. And he says oodles of poodles. Where is that? And
Good to
there's
see you
Matt
all.
P. He says, Jill. And Gorilla says, I no longer feel bad for biological killing. Well, they sure accomplished that, didn't they, this episode? There's the oodles of poodles. So, Dalek, what do you have going on your channel this week?
You asked me how I've been doing, Jill, because well, I've got the last 2 days, both yesterday and today have been, well, I'm sure you may have heard, they have been so hot.
Oh, okay. Are you able to stay cool somehow? You've got a fan and air conditioning and all that? And welcome back, Tiger Stripes.
Hey.
Anyway, enough about that. You asked about my channel. Well,
that too.
I do. There is a live stream I'm hoping to do sometime soon, which is another attempt at a stream I tried to do last week, which didn't go very well, and I ended up actually deleting the whole thing. So I'm hoping to redo that.
Oh yeah, the memorial stream for the Yu-Gi-Oh creator.
Right? Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, you definitely should redo that. That would be great. I hope it does better the next time. So let us know when you decide on a time for that. That sounds fun, or respectful.
If you got it, well,
probably
yeah. If you want to show your respects to Kazuki Takahashi, or if you're a Yu-Gi-Oh fan or know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh, you can feel free to tune in for that stream. Yeah.
Mhm. Okay. So today we will be reviewing season 3, episode 7 from Unknown Graves. We will have a spoiler review, so before we begin, we will show a countdown so that those who still need to see the show can pause and watch the replay. Other great channels producing content for the Orville are Orville Nation with PJ, Talking to Orville with JP, The Nerd Pearl Lifeform, Resolute Germ, Clobbering Times, Mark D with the C, and Potato Revan. And hello in the chat to Gorilla's Random Thoughts, Hakeem, Nat G, Snortopoopus, and so without spoiling it, we have 2 episodes in one this week, including 4 major plot points in total. One, I believe, was the sitcom approach to diplomacy that I believe fell on its head a bit. One was a very interesting and chilling backstory. One was a Hallmark movie, and the other was a Lifetime movie. I really enjoyed the last 2 minutes also very much. So, without spoilers, what do you think of this episode, Pop Culture Curator?
This is going to be different than the previous episodes because last week, the night it premiered, I couldn't make it past about 5 minutes, and I had to push the stop button all week. I tried to bring myself to watch it. I couldn't, and finally this morning, when I knew the time was counting down at about a half hour, 45 minutes before your stream started, I pushed play where I'd left off, and I played it at twice the speed. So I got through about 3/4 of it before your stream began. I believe.
Oh, so you didn't see the okay.
No,
so we'll
I'll
pull
learn.
you in the back
I'll
end
learn.
of the story.
It's okay. I don't feel like I missed anything.
You did miss one
At
thing.
double speed. It was still boring, and it was a horrible.
I don't blame you for leaving it for pausing it then and leaving it for that long. But not at all.
I only watched it for this review. Otherwise, I would never, I swear, ever watch an episode like this ever again of any show. But sorry, that's just, like I said, it's for my obligation for this review. It's the only reason why I watched it.
That is a very good without spoiler review. What about you, Dalek? What do you think of this episode without spoilers?
I couldn't. I'm gonna be blunt. I couldn't stand this episode. My emotions ranged from from absolutely furious to just very, very bored. It was that bad. This episode enraged me. It really made me angry.
And when I first saw it, I thought about that too. But I'm trying. There are so many people out there who really like this episode, so I'm trying to take a positive approach if I can, where I can. But
yeah, it's funny because I wanted to bring that up I wanted to bring that up if I can. One thing I got to give them credit for is that master stroke of dividing the audience right down the center, because that's what this whole season seems to be. That seems to be their intent, is dividing the audience. People either like this episode or they hate it, and I'm sure that's exactly what Disney wanted. And I think it's to the detriment of the show, but oh well, right? It would have been nice if we would all.
That's possible. Sorry. I don't know about that. The executives.
I don't think it's possible anymore.
I'm on my last legs with this show after this episode. I don't even know I want to bother watching next week's episode. If you've seen my tweets on my tweets after recent tweets, I'm saying things like, you're on your last chance, Seth.
Well, I like this review here. I don't understand. I feel like Doomcock watched a different episode than us, but now I can see why he likes this, because he also likes Disney, Star Wars. So it makes sense now. I mean, I've always suspicioned, but I can see his taste now. It's obvious. Now I see why he promotes this stuff.
And Hakeem seems to agree with you guys. 10 minutes in, and I wanted to cut it off. And
that's where I wanted to stop. 10 minutes in, because it was at that point that it was at that point it just got, I just saw the part which that really pissed me off.
It's like it was challenging you. It was like it just kept upping itself, upping, more and more. And how much are you going to take? How much are you going to take until you finally
So
can't
it was
take
bored
anymore?
stream. So like I said, and went range emotions with this watching this range from furious to bored stiff.
Thank you for those opinions. And Snortapoopas Cuber says, I can truthfully say I did not hate this episode, probably because I didn't watch it. And Gorilla's Random Thought says he liked this episode. He didn't need to drink as much as usual for it.
Yeah, people like it.
Yeah, some people do. And so this episode, Tiger Stripes, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Oh, okay. What did you, without spoilers, what did you think of this episode?
Oh, I liked it so much. I really did enjoy it.
Oh, that's good. I'm so glad we have someone who really liked this episode.
And I felt it did what a good television show should do and what good science fiction should do. I liked that it's advancing the arc of some of the characters.
Yes, it definitely is doing that.
I liked the fact that it had 3 different stories going.
4.
Probably 4.
Not
so
surprised.
many, as
Another
opposed to
example
what's
of a
been
writer's
happening
room.
in the past, with just sort of one overarching story, like with the Tale of Two Topas. So I enjoyed all of it. I did. I thought it was really good television.
Oh, great.
Oh my God.
I'm glad to hear that.
Not just your
That you had
God,
a good time.
everybody's God.
All right, even Android says God. And did you have something to add, Pop Culture?
Nope, not at all.
Okay, so this episode first aired, From Unknown Graves, first aired July 14th, 2022. It was written by David A. Goodman and directed by Seth MacFarlane, with music done by John Debney. The title, From Unknown Graves, comes from the poem The Witnesses by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, which is about slavery and features the lines, "These are the woes of slaves. They glare from the abyss. They cry from the unknown grave. We are the witnesses." And so that gives you a clue about the overarching theme of this episode. So for those who would like to avoid spoilers for this episode, please pause the video, add it to your watch later so you can listen on the replay. And here's your spoiler warning for From Unknown Graves. And so this episode begins with a family neighborhood that manages to be futuristic and retro at the same time. I like the design of the flying car, and at first it seems like we're being presented with an idyllic kind of nuclear family with some kind of really great alien designs, until we see what is brought home. We hear the ominous music as we see the Kalon, wondering if this is some alien species that found a Kalon, or if these are the biological Kalons. They don't tell you directly until much later in the episode, but in hindsight, the clues are in the design of the Kalon biologicals. They are also grayish with reddish orange eyes. One thing I like about this episode was how quick and tight that teaser was compared to other episodes. It gave you the hook without dragging it out. And our first scene on the Orville is part of our Lifetime movie plot. But instead of
God.
I'm gonna chime in. I did really love the art design on the suburban alien domicile with the curves, and gotta love a flying car. It's always aces.
Exactly, I led that too.
Yes.
That's cool. And so the first scene here is part of the Lifetime plot, but instead of the physical violence being done to a woman, it's being done to a man, and instead of him wanting to get out of it, he wants the pain to continue.
Of course, it's okay when it's done to a man. Of course, they make that very clear more than once.
And the overarching message of this series continues: women good, men bad.
Right, and this
That's
is
what I've
supposed.
been saying the whole time since season 1. But oh well.
I know that, but I didn't see it then or in
Yeah.
season 2.
I don't get that now.
Yeah, some
Um,
people don't. Some people, even after watching this episode, still don't get it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
and this is well, I even though I don't see that this is funny. So, but if someone is laughing about this,
It's
then I'm
not fun.
glad for
No, it's
for
not.
you.
No,
It
Jill,
is
it's not.
kind of funny, and I feel
It's
bad
it's
about laughing.
it's not funny. It's horrible.
Well, for all those
It's kind
people
of-
that like this episode, I have one question though. For all the people that like this episode, do they think they would show the reverse? Would they show a man breaking a woman's bones and doing this to her, and everybody laughing at it like it's a lighthearted scene? And you
Hell
still like this
no.
episode?
No,
But
that's
people like
the point
this.
of doing
No,
it
they're
is
not
to
making men
kind
look
of
bad.
reverse the
No.
roles and give you a different perspective. What men won't go
but-
through just to get laid sometimes, it seems
But
like.
men are always the butt of the joke.
I
Yeah, in
think
fact, I was
women take a
surprised that
lot of
Lamar was actually-
psychological abuse sometimes for the sake of sex, and this is a guy taking physical abuse for the sake of the sex.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
role reversal.
And he is least willing.
He's very willing. And that's all they seem to have in common too. And that's part of what makes it a little cringy.
Well,
Right.
of course he's
It
willing.
is
You think
very
he's going to
cringy.
say to her, "You're abusing me. You're breaking my arm. What are you doing?" Imagine if he said that one
Well,
sentence.
she's not. Well, admittedly, she's not doing it on purpose. She
Be
just
right
can't
back.
help it.
Okay.
She's not. I'll
Um,
admit that.
and hello in the chat to Rod Thunderheart. He calls me Auntie. Oh wait, that is something from Cardinal Sin. He is the only one who is allowed to say that.
Hello, Rod Thunderheart. Good to see you there.
Oh, it was a voice text mess up. Okay, in that case, it's okay. So Lamar likes it rough, apparently, but it's just a little too rough, isn't it? Hello in the chat to Raymond Feliciano.
Hi, Raymond.
And I have to mention, there's something else I have to mention because I do have history in the military. When you're in the military, your body is property of the military. If you break your arm, they want to know why, and they want to know who's responsible because that person is going to pay for the damage and be punished.
Yeah,
So,
and Lamar
once
isn't
again,
quite
there is
honest
no-
about it, is it?
Right? There's no chain of command, no discipline in this episode. Again, it's just I would say it's supposed to be like a laugh-a-minute romp, but
Uh-huh.
the way they
Yeah.
beat and break men up in this episode, it's not even that. So I can't really describe what this is, but
I
they're
don't know.
very clear in making men look like dog shit.
Well, I
have to
wish
say that.
I wish
don't
I
like
could have
cussing
laughed at it,
online.
but I really couldn't. I would have loved to be laughing, but I couldn't. I just didn't.
Well, like for example, when they wanted to show the men as subservient with the luggage, how many men are on that ship? Hundreds. They
Right,
could have got
right,
anybody
right,
to do
right.
it
That was my first thought. Why
But no,
why,
it's
why
Ed
is the
and Gordon
captain
because-
doing it?
because they're
Yeah, why
buffoons.
they would-
Ed and Gordon have always
That's
been
what it-
buffoons. What I'm surprised about, out of 3 seasons, this is the first time they've made Lamar the butt of a joke, and that I was surprised about. But the reason why they did that was because their signal is so strong here about anti-men. They had to even make him the butt of a joke. I was surprised. Even Bordis, they even I think I've said enough.
Oh, and Raymond says this reminded me of looking for Parmak in all the wrong places. So that's a reference to Deep Space Nine when Quark was dating a Klingon, and was also experiencing pain but enjoying.
This show rips
the
off a
sex,
lot from
but-
Star Trek: The Next Generation because it's got a lot of the people working on it. I guess they got them for a
Yeah.
budget, really good
Mhm.
rate.
You know, I wish I would have watched that scene. I wonder if I find it funny when it happens
Yeah,
with
a lot of-
Quark, but not here.
A lot
Because
of
I'm
act-
sure
a-
that
a lot
it's
of
done
old
differently.
actors from Star Trek too. I mean Tim Russ, Robert Picardo.
Robert Picardo is always great, no matter where he is.
I don't care about the actors. I'm talking about Brennan Braga and those people. That's why we're bringing the same ideas over and over and over. They're recycling their own stuff. And you can
Yeah,
tell with the 4
they do.
plots going on, that is clearly a writer's room. That's
Oh my
multiple
God.
people sitting around a table writing the script.
Oh my God, there was so much happening all at once in this episode. It was a complete mess.
Well, everybody gets their turn. They're all sitting around the table going, my turn, my turn. Yeah, you get a turn, and you get a turn, and you get a turn.
And of course, yeah, maybe
was wondering in the
that's
credits-
happening.
In the credits, when it shows, the 25 producers and all that, because there's way too many producers. Is there anywhere does it list script supervisor? I'm curious. Technical
No.
advisor, military advisor, anything like that?
Hmm,
Yeah, I didn't think so. All
I
right,
don't
sorry.
know.
Go ahead.
It's possible. I don't know. I need to check.
I
But
have looked and I couldn't find them. That's why I thought maybe it was just me that couldn't find those. But
regarding the scene, Tala's strength is so intense that somehow she's unable to control herself or be gentle enough to not cause this debilitating pain. One wonders why Zileans bother to date anyone at all if they don't have comparable strength if this is what happens. No wonder Alara couldn't find love either. Isaac is of comparable strength, but he doesn't have this issue with Claire. And this is probably because a mechanoid has more precise control over his actions and level of force exerted. Plus, maybe the environmental simulator safeties help with that. I don't know. I'm thinking way too much about this.
actually, no, they're not going to show a male breaking a woman. That's what it is, Jill. Sorry, but they're not going to show the doctor with broken arms and swollen eyes and all that. I mean, it's very, very obvious. The writing's
And
right there on the screen.
and so also Lamar is chief engineer, so maybe he'll come up with something like something like that later using the simulator. But for now, Tala proceeds to break every bone in his body one session at a time. I also wonder why we don't see Tala unable to control her strength in other situations, like randomly and accidentally breaking things. That could actually be funny. And we see that Nurse Park has been replaced by Nurse Natalie Hopkins
With no explanation.
with no explanation. Yeah, no funeral for all the people who died in
Right.
episode 2.
And once again, everybody, another gender swapped role. One less man on the show. Good for them, right?
Well,
But-
at
I
least
do
she,
wish this nurse had more to say.
at least she's a redhead, right?
Yeah, I guess there's
Yeah.
that token clicked off, right?
And also actually her name is Natalie Hopkins, and I thought that was a nice reference to the famous John Hopkins Hospital and University. So
Good call.
okay,
Possibly. I don't know.
Yeah, in this particular scene, I really wanted the nurse to have something to say to John to kind of indicate that the whole crew knows what's going on. It's only command who's clueless. Just a
Mhm.
little something, like, again, really? Just
I think it's the same with Nurse Park. He didn't get much lines either. I think it's just not in their contract because they're
because the nurses are
background
always
actors.
hip to what's going on.
yeah,
Oh,
and
Under the
also
shows, yes. Under the shows, but not this one, apparently.
Well, I just remember how much the nurse in Star Trek had to say.
Oh,
She
yeah. Nurse Chapel was well aware of what was going on the whole
made
time.
comments and she made observations. She had her own motivations and feelings. And I don't even need a lot of that. I just need a little.
Yeah, we've said that before. If they would just throw in a line every now and then to explain something, it would help.
I agree. And Hakeem says this episode made me feel like Ed is one of the worst male captains in Trek.
You're preaching to the choir.
And Raymond says, "Oh no, it was Worf and Jadzia for the first time." Oh, okay. I was thinking of the wrong one. Thank you, Raymond. And Sort of Poopa says, "I guess this is why I can't find loving. Polar bears can be rough."
Aw.
Gorilla says, "Well, as a humanoid, can you precisely control yourself completely during sex?"
Well,
See,
if you
now
can't,
that's
you'd be in jail
lovely.
really fast.
Because
Yeah, right.
gorillas are
And
supposed to be the
psychological
most
evaluation.
considerate lovers of the primates, from what I've heard.
Wow.
Well, if they
Interesting.
wouldn't, right, they would be destroying their species, right? And they, because their strength is massive.
Yeah, I would have thought that Tala had more control over herself, but I guess not. I wonder if it'll come up in any non-sex related.
Well,
or
what's stronger,
oriented.
her power or the agenda of the writers? It looks like the agenda of the writers won out on this one.
Again, role reversal. There are times where men hurt women during sex.
Show us on a comedy
And
show
I've-
recently these days. Yeah, show me,
And
please.
I've had friends who've mentioned as much.
That's it.
Wow.
Okay.
It does
but,
happen.
But we're not.
I definitely
You're
do
talking
believe that
about.
happens.
And I mean
You're
unintentionally
talking
too.
Tiger Stripes. You're talking about real life. We're talking. It's about seeing it happen on screen in a TV show. When does that happen?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm asking.
sometimes-
Show me.
On a TV show?
Yeah, a comedy TV show like this. Yeah, when does that happen? Where the women get beat up and laughed at for jokes? I'm curious.
Well, she's saying that it happens in real life and that sometimes science fiction parallels real life in some ways.
We're not talking about real life, are we, Pop?
Mhm.
Well, no, we used to be talking about the Orville, but apparently this is the point of what I said earlier about the writers dividing people because the writers don't want to talk about a sci-fi show anymore. They want to bring in garbage and baggage from their own personal lives. That's the problem. We
Well,
don't
good
want to see
science
that.
fiction parallels real life, and
Not
sometimes
every single episode. Every
does
single
flip
episode they've been
roles
shoving
in
down
order
these
to
things.
make a point.
Okay.
Not every episode has to be
But-
about real life issues. Would it kill them
Exploring people.
to
How about
make, you know,
exploring?
Well, this
What a-
clearly isn't real life.
Mhm. Well, let's look at this. Lamar takes his broken arm and bruised ribs to sick bay with the lie that he broke it training in the simulator, and thus begins the concurrent theme of lying in this episode, fibbery.
Right now, the doctor would have already said, "Okay, you and the simulator are off limits. I am ordering you to stay away from that
Well, actually, she
until we
does.
find out what's going on."
She orders him to quit the program, and he says it's a really good program, and she says a good workout kind of defeats the purpose if it kills you. And no kidding.
Yeah, and notice none of his superior officers are wondering where all these wounds are coming from. It's strange, huh? Nobody in that whole chain of command is even aware of what's going on with his wounds.
No.
Fascinating, isn't it?
Well,
Yeah,
she should immediately reported
he's
it.
going straight to sick bay when it happens. They heal
Well, when something
him
like that
almost
happens, she
immediately, and that's doctor-client privilege. So
that is still no, that's abuse. He's being abused by another crew member, and either way, he's being injured, which should be reported to the captain. Anytime there's injuries, regardless of what the reason, they should be reported to the captain.
Yeah, I remember in season 1, somebody reported that they got a soy sauce stain or something during a red alert.
But I guarantee you, a real true captain, if they knew all this was going on and they're not being informed, these people would have to be in serious trouble. All of them. There's a certain doctor-client privilege, but not wounds.
Pop is
broken arms.
our military consultant here, and so he does bring the realism for that, and that does
not
make
ask
sense.
Anybody who's been in the military or any kind of chain of command, even a government job.
Mm-hmm. And now, after lying 3 times, does Claire suspect John is lying? But maybe if he were honest from the get-go, that with their combined skills, they could have come up with a great and safe solution, probably involving the simulator. But this episode doesn't seem interested in solving that problem. I guess you could that, and it doesn't want to solve the problem because it wants to keep this gag going.
Yep.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
And there's Nurse Park fixing it. And here we begin our Hallmark movie storyline.
Oh man, yeah, I'm so glad I watched this 2 times. I was playing this at 2 times the speed, and I still fast forwarded even that because it didn't move fast enough.
Here comes the soap opera in space, boring.
Right, it's like Data. Look what we did with Data. Oh, I mean Isaac. Yeah, he's officially Data now.
So Claire and Isaac are having dinner. Isaac is doing his best to connect with Claire by learning how to ask about her day and learning how to flirt. And this scene is very sweet. I love this scene.
Yeah, if only some guy would throw me those kind of compliments on a date. It's just,
and even Claire is very sweet and normal in her character, telling him that he doesn't have to do that, implying that she likes him the way she is, which is why what happens later is so discordant from this scene. This scene is from season 1 and 2. This is happy refrain. This I like. Now, for one of the major plot points after this. Oh, I had a few clips of this because this is Isaac and Claire to me.
Yeah, I do get though that there's a tendency among women sometimes to always want to fix the man they're in a relationship with.
Exactly my problem.
Really, I would never know that.
That's exactly why I call it the Hallmark case of that. Yes. But where does it come from? She's never been like this before. She's different from other women. She's actually able to be with a robot.
She is in a position where it's going to be very difficult to find a partner. Mm-hmm. She's in command. She's at the top of the pyramid.
She has children.
You think the writers thought of all that? You think the writers actually thought of all that? The reality is the writers are not.
I'm just saying what I've observed lately and the things that I've learned.
Okay.
I'm not going to second guess the writers. I'm just going to talk about my experience of enjoying the television show.
Very good. And now we come to one of the major plot points, which was the worst for me in this episode. It's the Genesi. The Genesi come from that episode when Tala first arrived on the set on the show. She talked about having to punch out her captain so that she could get help from the Genesi to fix the ship. And so now they're fleshing out this race, this misandrist,
Matriarchal,
matriarchal race.
I believe is the word you're
all
seeking.
matriarchals are. Oh, okay.
This-
All right.
No, that's why I call them
Yeah,
misandrist.
matriarchy is a bad word now these days, right? Yeah, I guess patriarchy isn't, but patriarchy is not matriarchy, right? Okay.
They're not exactly misandrous. If they were that, then they really would kind
No,
of
not at all. Yeah,
work
no,
hard
no.
not to have any men on the planet at all.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, they're not. No.
Oh, well. Yeah, like
sure,
the Mocklin.
Yeah, sure they're not.
So they try to soften the blow by trying to justify interacting with them because they made an alliance with the Mocklins. But that's different because in that case, it was the Mocklins who were being deceptive and making everyone think that they were an all-male species. So in that way, the Mocklins are worse because they mutilate their babies for one thing. But the Genesi straight up enslave their men. So it's not like they're that much better.
Oh, good. The mic didn't pick
Are you
that
okay?
up.
Yeah, it did.
It did.
Are you okay?
It's all right.
It's all right, Dalek.
That was
Yeah,
my
it's okay.
that was my mom shouting.
Is dinner ready?
Yeah, I have to go.
All
Okay.
right. Come back after dinner's done.
Yeah, come
Enjoy.
back after dinner.
If
Enjoy
I
your
can,
dinner.
if
If you can.
Okay. If
It's
not,
all
maybe
right.
hang out in the chat if you can.
No, I'll definitely be in the chat. Don't worry about
No,
that.
come back. You can
Thanks for
come back.
joining us,
Dalek.
Dalek.
Enjoy your
Oh.
dinner.
Mhm.
I will. I'll see. Hopefully, see you next time, Jill.
Okay.
Thanks.
And okay, so I was saying that the Genesi basically enslaved their men, so it's not like they're that much better. The Genesi are like Angel One from Star Trek: The Next Generation. They don't trust any males in power. So the crew decide that lying and deception is the only proper diplomatic move. And I guess you could say they aren't going to trust us anyway with a male captain, so why worry about being trustworthy with the truth now? Now, if you buy that premise and believe it to be intelligent and valid, then you will find this a great plot line. But I frankly don't exactly like this deceptive diplomacy.
At the time, I thought, bad idea. But it
Mhm.
is very television.
Right.
Very sitcom, very TV.
Yes, this is a
Conceptually.
sitcom. Absolutely a sitcom plot.
Yeah, I noticed a whole lot of I Love Lucy reverberations throughout this whole episode.
Right. But I tried to be positive to go along with it for a while. When I think of successful deceptive diplomacy in Star Trek, I think of In the Pale Moonlight, which is nothing like this. In that case, the Federation wasn't trying to make allies or get the Romulans to trust them. They knew that would never be a thing anyway. But in the Orville's case, they are trying to make allies and get the Genesi to trust them. So lying about your fundamental command structure is just, yeah, like Tiger Stripe said, not smart. And not exactly funny either. So I don't see why in this episode all this emotional and physical abuse to men is supposed to be funny. I wish that I could
They're not done
see it.
yet. Yeah, they're not done dumping on men yet.
I mean, this episode makes me feel like my funny meter is broken or something. So let me see in the chat what we have here. If Lamar told the truth, says Cavitino, he would be on a no snoo profile. Right, exactly. That is a fair point. Hakeem says, to me, he sounds more like Data in the scene than others. Yeah, he's
Well, because they're recycling Data's plot, word for word, practically.
right.
That's
He's
why.
getting his emotion chip later. Anyway, Raymond,
Right, the motion chip, everything. Right, it's. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah,
I'll
right.
let you.
I would have gotten a rant from Dalek just by saying that. Raymond said, "Since when do they have C plots?" Well,
Exactly,
this is
Raymond.
A plot,
D
B
plots,
plot,
A,
C
B,
plot.
And
C,
Jill
D.
says there's a D plot, and I've stopped counting.
When you have
No,
5
yeah.
or 6 writers sitting around the table, that's when.
No, yeah, you have the Genesi, you have the Kalon backstory with the scientist,
Sure.
and
Oh,
you
that's
have
true.
Lamar and Tala, and you have Isaac and Claire. Those are your 4
Right.
stories.
Good point.
Yeah, when you can't entertain the audience with one good story, you've got to fill them with 4 bad ones. That's just a fact,
I like
not an
having
opinion.
I like having more than one story per episode for any kind of content.
I
Well, if
sure
it's
could.
done right,
I
but
mean,
this
it's
show seems to be.
classical to the structure of a novel to have different plots for different characters. And then
And I,
frequently they all kind of combine at the end.
yes,
Yeah,
I
but
love when
this
they
is.
combine.
But that's a novel. This is a would be equivalent to a short story.
That's right.
So it'd
And
be the
so
equivalent of still
This is
trying
a
to cram too
longer
much in.
format. It's almost like a mini movie.
One
Movie of the
page per
week.
minute.
mhm.
Well, because it's turned into the after school preaching special this season. That's the reason why every episode seems to get, or at least feel like they're getting longer and longer.
So Snortopoopa says, if I was in the military and broke my arm riding a bicycle, I have a feeling they would either tell me to give up riding bicycles or issue me training wheels.
They wouldn't be laughing at it. It cost them a
Snorty.
lot of money to repair it. They would remind you.
Snortopoopas is much funnier than this episode. Cavitino says, good afternoon to Snortopoopas. Got a bucket of popcorn and an ice-cold pitcher of strawberry lemonade for you. Good bear. Yeah, everybody's always giving treats to the bear.
That's so he won't eat you.
Right. TNG, DS9, Battlestar Galactica equals, if you add those all together, it equals confusion.
Right, you chew it up, you spit it out. This is what you get.
Dalek says, like I said, the writing was a mess. Too many plot points at once, and all of them were awful, says Dalek451. Cavitino says, too many cooks in the kitchen, adding ingredients.
I have to remind everybody, none of the writers on this show are accomplished sci-fi writers. Keep that in mind. They come from backgrounds like Squarebugs, Punch Pants, and
That's
Family
really
Guy.
not
So
true
keep
at
that in
all.
mind.
Yeah, I know, right? We have
Prove me
David
wrong,
A.
please.
Goodman. David
I
A.
can prove
Goodman,
you wrong.
Brandon
There have been
Braga.
other writers on the series that have written for TNG, that have written for science fiction.
No, I'm talking about Orville.
Yes, I'm talking about the Orville.
But that
Brandon
was
Braga
season
has
1
written
and 2.
episodes.
Mm-hmm. Andre Bormanis is supposed to be the science consultant, but I don't know if he's checked out or something this season.
I haven't seen his name in the credits all season.
Well, I think a consultant has to be consulted. That might be the issue.
Yeah, right. He co-wrote the spider alien episode. Andre Bormanis did with Brandon Braga, so probably held Brandon Braga back from being too crazy. And that's why I kind of like that episode. So anyway, the Genesi treat men as second-class citizens. So the Orville crew begin to do so as well, as part of a ruse to get the Genesi to join the fight against Kalon. And if you're okay with the line, you're going to love this episode. If you think it's dumb, you probably won't like at least this plot. Commander Grayson is pretending to be captain. Tala is pretending to be first officer, and Ensign Burke is pretending to be chief engineer. My problem with that is that we have Lieutenant Turco pretending. Why shouldn't she be pretending to be chief engineer? Because she's actually Lieutenant Turco was just. Did the writers forget about her after giving her that nice promotion in electric sheep?
Thank you. Right. No, they're still busy trying to put Charlie up on Chuckles up on a pedestal.
And
which is totally unbelievable.
Which doesn't make any sense because Charlie already has a plot line in this episode with Isaac. She doesn't need to be part of this.
I agree. Writing by committee.
We needed Turco here. It would have been way more believable for her to pretend to be a chief engineer. Anyway, why even write in a female engineer if you're not going to use her? I don't like when they treat science characters like this.
Plot conveniences, you mean?
Anyway, I wasn't able to get clips from the show that I wanted to, so otherwise I would have had lots of really good clips from the show, but I didn't manage it.
And I have to say, I'm sure you're not surprised, but I am not a fan of the makeup on these aliens.
I'm disappointed that the makeup and the outfits are so very masculine. You would
No,
think that
that's how it looks in
in a
San Francisco, LA, and all those
you would
cities.
think
This is
that
how
in a
they look. Yeah.
matriarchal society, they wouldn't be afraid to be a little more femme.
Well, you're in a society that hates men, so they want to emulate that, just like in real life, just like you're talking about in real life. This is I live in the Bay Area. This is the women in the Bay Area.
Hmm.
Their attitudes and the way they dress.
Yeah, not only is pop culture our military consultant, he's also our California consultant. Because I don't know much about California culture, and he always brings
I live in
knowledge
California most of the time.
from that.
I'm in Texas currently, but I
Right.
live in, and
Oh
I
my.
spent a good bit of time in San Francisco.
I wanted to retire. The longest time I wanted to retire in Texas because I love it. But now that all the people in California are moving there, I'm going to find some other place.
Well, I think all the people in California are moving to Austin, so you can
But yeah,
still move
Austin
to
in
Texas
particular,
because
right?
the one
But
thing
Yeah.
about Texas is there's a lot of Texas.
Oh, I know. But what
Right.
they're saying here, the word around here is, if people are aware now that they have caused the prices of real estate and everything to go up so high in Austin that now they're looking at quote outlying areas. So that's what we all expected. They're going to hit Austin first, and then once they see how it basically destroys their economy and jacks up the price of everything, then they're going to start finding outlying areas. That's the same thing they did to California.
Well,
Oh God.
Next, you'll see the homeless
I'm
and the
not gonna
drugs.
go into that because I'm trying to stay focused. I could really go on and
Gotcha.
on because I'm from Austin.
Right.
So,
I love
but
Austin. At least I used to.
Well, yeah,
ditto.
I
We
did an
concur here,
internship.
pop
I did
culture.
an internship at IBM in Austin, and I enjoyed it. There were nice parks and everything, fun stuff to do. But
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
nice.
I don't know how it is today.
It's
Anyway,
different.
It's
uh,
But
dominated by Karens, to put it that way,
like
and
I
beta
said,
males.
we'll continue.
yeah, let's bookmark that for one of a different live stream. Maybe on
Yes.
Friday or one of your live streams. That's a very interesting topic. So,
Not a popular one. It won't be on my live stream. I'll be attacked constantly.
well, I am a Texan, so it's kind of sad, kind of hearing that things like this are happening. But anyway,
Yes, no,
uh,
it
okay.
makes me and my brother in particular very sad. And
Mhm.
yeah, again, I could go on and on, so I'll just stop now.
Yeah, it's too
But it's
sad.
not something that's just known to us,
Oh
having
no,
lived in
yeah,
Texas and being here. The whole world kind of knows about it right
yeah,
now.
of course, yeah. As
It's
soon as
sort of the butt of a lot of humor. People realize that the property values are overinflated and
yep,
that the liberal city council is
yep,
making the bicycle paths 10 feet wide, and it's just,
yeah. Here you
we're a
go. Say
joke.
goodbye. They're
It's
gonna
kind of
start closing your
anyway.
streets off where
I'm
there's no
s-
cars
I'm
allowed.
stopping now. I'm stopping.
Well, in Texas, bicycles have always been allowed on the roads, but they usually stick to the sides.
Right, but what you have in the California areas, you have people who don't pay taxes for roads, but yet making demands and getting them. The
Oh,
people who ride bicycles, who do not drive cars, aren't paying any taxes
Okay, I'm,
for
I'm
the
sorry I brought
infrastructure.
up bicycles now. It's
yeah,
Yeah,
right.
there's
Well,
so
I
many
know.
things.
I mean,
But I feel sorry for Texas, if anything, more for what they did at the border. That's what made it into a joke. People thought California border, but my God,
Well,
what
we
they've done
have
to
a border.
Texas.
Not every state has a border.
right,
So
Oh, I
having
know.
a
And
border
Arizona.
kind of makes you part of that particular issue. So,
right.
All right, go
yeah.
ahead, Jill.
Okay, so
Yes,
I'll
please.
cut in with this.
Their ship is pretty cool though.
God damn it! What are you
sorry.
Don't, just stop. Tell me if you're gonna stop.
Okay, sorry, that's my bad.
Be careful.
I'm going, I'm moving now.
Careful. Stairs. Stairs. 1, 2. Got it. All right. That way. Yeah.
So you can say it was all an act when Tala yells for Ed and Gordon to carry the luggage, and that's fine if you're allowing for the deceptive premise that we're going along with. But I definitely don't find this part funny, even though it does kind of try to make it balanced by making fun of how women sometimes pack more than necessary. It was an attempt at making at attempt at that balance, but for me, it fell flat like Ed did. I was struggling to figure out why I don't find it funny here, when I think it's hilarious when it happens with Loxana Troy on Next Generation.
Well, the
I
difference
can't.
is this one is out of place. That's
Yeah,
why you were confused. Yeah.
look, I can't play the clip to show how funny it is because CBS will flag me. It was funny when Loxana did it because she greeted the captain with great respect and seemed to think that she was doing him the honor of carrying her luggage. Her intent was not to demean or be cruel. In fact, it was more like just unaware.
I don't think Luxana's unaware of anything, but I think she's hip.
Well, yes. Well, you know what I mean. Like
Is that the daughter or the mother?
the
That's the
mother,
mother.
the mother.
Oh God, overbearing. Ugh.
Okay, okay,
I'm
maybe
a
not
fan of her too.
unaware,
I love Majel Barrett, but oh well.
but more like she was trying to come on to him a bit. And then it was funny because the bag was really heavy, and it's a real and true thing that men sometimes try to carry things that are too heavy for them. Plus, we have
They
Deanna.
have no carts aboard that ship, right? No carts. Keep that in
Yeah,
mind.
they do. Right, right. In Star Trek, they have anti-grav carts, but I guess they don't have the anti-grav carts in the Orville.
Right, not even ones with wheels. I mean, just anything. But oh well.
No regular dollies either. Nope, not on the Orville.
Well, I'll say I love a good pratfall, and I did laugh. So,
I do too, and it still didn't get
although
me.
when you showed that, I noticed the goddamn in the captions, and I keep a goddamn count, so that's one. I had actually missed that one.
Oh
So,
wow.
yes.
Plus also in the TNG episode, we had Deanna objecting to it as Picard was carrying it, with Lixana noticing that he was having trouble. So it's actually funny when Picard is persevering, and that he doesn't fall either. And what saves the whole thing in the TNG episode is that Mr. Hom picks it up very easily, like he could have done the entire time. So I'm happy for anyone who likes the scene, but it's just second banana to the TNG one for me.
Forced.
You know, Ensign Charlie loves it because she says it's fun.
Of course it is. Of course.
So they're meeting the Genesi. I didn't write anything here.
No, I noticed that right after the gag, Malloy says, that is a hiatal hernia. And that's a real old folks joke, but it's still pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Oh, looks like I have a few. Oh, right. He says that on the bridge here.
Yes. That's the first line as they open up onto the bridge.
Mm-hmm. Gorilla says maybe they're trying to fill in all the holes in case they don't get renewed.
No, they're bringing up new questions. So I wouldn't say they're closing holes. I say they're bringing up more questions. But oh
Yeah.
well.
Well, they close a couple of things, but as they close them, they open 5 more. Geek Flag with Nate Knows says they have writers from DS9, Voyager, and TNG. It is New Trek who has no writers with sci-fi backgrounds, with the majority of their writers coming from Gilmore Girls. But that variety of writing is what made season 1 and 2 of the Orville so spectacular. And this season of the Orville is only seeming to be written by Seth and David A. Goodman. And,
yeah, but this is why this show is 85% people talking in hallways about their feelings. We're watching the CW here.
But yeah, so what pop culture is saying is that the person that's given the writer's credit on the episode isn't the only writer, that there's other writers that we're not privy to. We don't know who they are, who write sitcoms. And
right, if it's not in their contract, they don't get credit.
Drama, soap operas, and that's what he's thinking is infiltrating the show, just like it does with New Trek, who has no sci-fi backgrounds and all that. I'm not so sure. I don't have any proof of that, but it's possible. Dalek 451 says, "My mom has made us cheeseburgers. Yum."
Good
Nice.
mom.
I'll be right over, Dalek.
You're right. This is the point where I got so angry I almost stopped watching. Oh, the bags. Yep. And only 10 minutes too, right? Oh my God, we're only 10 minutes in. They write Trolley into episodes because, oh, she's sleeping with the boss?
I think he's talking about Charlie.
Oh, Charlie. Right. Okay. Yes, she is. That is a common theme with
In
Seth
real life, you
MacFarlane
mean? Her and
Yes.
Seth?
Oh,
on
yes.
Orville.
Oh,
Yes. You
Jesus,
didn't
that
know that?
explains everything. That
Yeah.
explains
Yeah, you
everything.
didn't know that,
Jesus
dude? Come on,
Christ.
catch up.
Well, actually, it explains why she was suddenly forced into the show front and center without anybody even trying to write an arc for her.
But
So
it's
yeah,
not
it
like
all
he
makes sense
hasn't
now.
done this before.
Oh,
So
Jesus.
now.
Uh,
Now.
sorry for that's just my opinion. I'll mute.
That's all right. I actually did a search. I was curious. It turned up.
Sorry. Hakeem says this was my main issue. Are they going to pretend each time they meet a different race that they want to bring into the union? Yes, very good point.
Yes, it's not a good plan to start off with subterfuge.
Nope, not at all. I mean, suddenly the union are Romulans. Snortapoop is Cuber says, I can spell California never mind.
Good bear.
Keep them away from West Virginia, says Raymond. You
Keep
can
your fingers
retire.
crossed, Raymond.
You can retire to Brittany, France. That's why I'm going. That's where I'm going when I retire, says
Ooh.
Nate.
Can I come visit?
And Snorapoopa says, and Florida. Gorilla's random thought says, if the woman looks like that in San Francisco, I won't go there. I wasn't planning on going there anyway, but that's a different story.
That's all right. Nobody's going there right now. Everybody's leaving.
And Snorapoopa says the men are too dumb to figure out how to carry luggage.
Or to grab a cart, yeah.
Yeah, grab a cart. Mm-hmm. Anybody going to a hotel knows how to do that. Dalek451 says, this was outrageous. Ed and Gordon reduced to pack meals? Disgusting. And so, yeah, that's why I made that parallel. Because in the Next Generation, it was just one bag. And Picard was like, fine, it's one bag. And then it was funny because it was too heavy. Hakeem says...
That joke's been done before, by the way. Evil Dead 2 used it before. Next
I had a
Generation.
big
I've seen it
visual
before,
of
yeah.
Desi and Fred carrying luggage in a hotel. Another I Love Lucy thing. When that happened, big visual popped up in my head. I'm like, I know I've seen this so many times before, back in the 50s.
Mm-hmm.
Right. They're taking ideas from a 70-year-old sitcom. Yeah, I'm not surprised.
It's a classic.
Mm-hmm. Hakeem says, that was the 10-minute mark I was talking about. Gorilla's random thought says, leave it to women to bring that much shit for a 3-day trip.
Yes, we do. And we need it all.
Yep, it's all important. Hakeem says, I have more respect for pack meals, says to Dalek. Fractured Vision. Oh, hey, welcome to the chat. I don't know if I've seen you here before. This episode was presented like a graphic novel. Since Goodman wrote it, maybe this story was meant for the comics, but they decided to make it into an episode.
It's interesting. Does Goodman write for comics?
Oh, yes, he writes all of the comics for the Orville, and I had pre-ordered they put out a library of all the comics in one hardback. So a couple months ago, I pre-ordered this comic, so I'll be getting it sometime in October.
That's a really excellent observation, Fractured Vision.
Yes, it's good to have a comics expert in the chat there. Geek Flagged with Nate says they have anti-grav in the Orville because they had Isaac on one when he was deactivated in Identity. Thank you. See, they didn't need to have that scene at all. The scene was completely obsolete.
Forced. I'll say forced.
We could explain it away. They were there to eavesdrop because they want to know what's going on. They called on them all of a sudden just because they knew they were there, and then they had to run out and do it physically as opposed to getting an anti-grav card.
Or they made them do that to play up the subservience that they're supposed to be pretending to have against males.
Well, we could go on forever saying, or maybe this, or maybe that, or maybe this, maybe that, right?
Right.
They didn't show it on the screen, so we can go on forever with maybe this and maybe that.
Yes,
Maybe I'll win the lottery tomorrow, right?
Maybe. Snorter Poop says, and why do they only have steps there? I guess the Union doesn't require ramps. No, they don't. I mean, they have the spiral staircase
Right,
going
I
up to
brought
the
that up
bridge.
about the spiral staircase. Right, no wheelchairs in the future, I guess.
No, well, because if you're disabled, then you get the anti-grav technology.
Or
Oh.
I guess, or everything could be cured. Maybe there was no disabilities in the future. Is what they're trying to say. So how
I
does
don't know.
Yaphet get up there? If in case they say Yaphet, we need to talk to you on the bridge.
He slimes up there. He can go
Slime's up
upstairs.
there.
Yeah, he can do it.
What
He
about the
can,
big alien? What's the big alien's name in engineering? The big guy.
he cannot go to the bridge.
Right, the one that smashed the tip. Right,
His name is Unk.
that's it. Right. In fact,
Dalek?
he's very limited to where he can go on the ship and where he can't go. When you think about it.
Yes, he is.
All right, and there's no, there's probably no
And-
suit designed for
and
him
he's
to be
a-
able to go on space.
Right. That's why he's the only one who's allowed to be naked and doesn't have to go in space. And Dalek says, and what makes it worse is that all the women on the ship were enjoying watching the men suffer, all while with the smuggest looks on their faces.
What else is new?
I cannot argue that. It was kind of obnoxious.
3
Yeah.
seasons of that, not just one episode.
Oh, Kapla to Bird of Prey 5 in the chat.
Hello, Bird. Good to see you.
Yeah. So Gordon asks the burning question here. How long will they have to lie to the Genesi? Because even the writers know that this deception can't last forever. Ed says the negotiations need to go further before they can quit lying. And honestly, when I first watched this, I did my best to go along with it as long as I could, knowing that it wouldn't be forever. But Charlie and Kelly really seem to be relishing in it, as she is charmed with with moving Ed off of his chair and kicking Bortus off the bridge to keep up the ruse.
Yeah,
Poor
why
Bortus.
did they kick off Gordon? I'm wondering, right? That's what I don't understand. Bortus had to leave, but Gordon gets to stay. I don't understand.
Because he has an ensign badge on his he's
So Bortus is
'cause
below ensign.
he has to fly the ship. It's like of necessity.
But as we all know, they've had female hems people before.
Right. They should. Yeah. Right. Exactly. They could have.
But what is
switched
Bortus's
her.
rank? He's below Gordon. He's below an ensign.
There's no logical explanation. The explanation
No.
is that Gordon has a contract and he has to show up for a while.
Yeah. In other words, next. Don't think, people. Next. Move along. Move along.
Yeah.
more.
Basically, it's
Right.
not logic. Don't try to apply logic to the season. She shows no remorse. Actually, do try to apply logic. I don't really mean that. I do appreciate it every time you mention it. Please continue.
We do appreciate your struggle, Jill.
Yeah, I yours. And Kelly shows no remorse in treating her men this way. It reminds me of the
No.
right. It actually reminds me of the Stanford prison experiment in which college students became prisoners or guards in a simulated prison environment, and it became so real that the guards began to mistreat the prisoners that the experiment had to end after 6 days.
Yes, and
And
that
this-
is available as a movie you can get, a documentary.
Oh, and yeah, and this is how the women are behaving toward the men, and I wish that I could find something like that funny, but I don't. I think
Because
it's
it's
supposed
not.
to be.
It's because it's
'Cause it's
not.
not.
They,
It's
they
really
think
not.
it is.
No, it's a sour note.
Right, the
All
sadistic
of
writers
those
think it's hilarious. I'm sure they started
smug
on the writing
looks.
room laughing
I
and
don't
laughing when they
know.
wrote this.
I don't know. That's a very particular direction. How do you tell an actress, could you wipe a little of the smug off your face in this line?
Director, that's what they have, directors.
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Or do you tell them to be more smug? I don't know.
The director,
I
it's
don't
up to
know
the
what's
director.
happening there. Well, it was Seth.
It's
So
up to the director and what
it's
they want
his
to convey.
call.
Oh, hey, Gorilla says to Pop Culture, if you come to Minnesota, I'll make you my meatloaf burgers.
Sounds like a deal. I'll be there, sir.
I've had meatloaf and I've had burgers, but I've never had meatloaf burgers.
Neither have I. Well, let me know when the weather clears. I'll come there after the
It
tornado
does sound
season
real
passed.
good.
Mhm.
Yeah, I want to shout out Gorilla Random Thoughts. He's got a lot of short videos on cooking, and he does some really good barbecue over there.
Ooh.
Rod Thunderheart says that Abel hernia was mentioned in the football spoof, Necessary Roughness. Oh, so yeah, that would be some reference that the Orville is taking that I would never know. Thank you, Rod Thunderheart. Gorilla says, "Uh-oh, must be a big fire scene. Fire truck from 3 different departments, and looks like the entire department from the town I'm in. Oh, I hope everything and everybody is okay."
I do too. Everybody loves a fire, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
That's
luck
why if
there,
you
Gorilla.
really
Stay
need
safe.
somebody to come help you, you shout fire. That's a tip,
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah,
Yes.
don't yell police. You won't see
No,
anybody.
don't
Yeah,
yell
yell
anything but
fire.
fire.
Speaking from Lifetime movies, I think I learned that from a Lifetime movie.
Oh.
My mom used to drag me into those, and that's why I could recognize Lifetime movies and Hallmark movies, and this episode has both of them.
That's what I was going to ask you, Jill. How do you tell the difference? Because I can't tell the difference between Lifetime and Hallmark.
And
Well,
I will admit, I
Hallmark is
really
more
haven't seen
idyllic.
that many.
Hallmark is more idyllic. It's like the Christmas movies. It's like, oh, there's a man. He's kind of bad. He's kind of, there's something wrong with him, but the woman can fix him, and it's a
No,
big
in pop
fantasy.
culture, I
And
think I can answer that. Hallmark movies always have a gazebo. That's what I've
Well,
heard.
it sounds like you spend a lot of money on that, huh?
Yeah,
A
and
lot of
then,
No,
variety.
I think it's one city in Canada with the same gazebo that they just dress up differently every
Of
time.
course.
But
Yeah, not surprised. I'm sure the
and
writing reflects that.
and have you ever seen Bodyguard about Whitney Houston?
Nope.
I haven't seen The Bodyguard. Isn't that funny?
That's basically all Lifetime movies.
Ah,
So
Yeah.
there's
No,
abuse and
I
gotta run
prefer
away.
Dolly.
and
Protector.
stuff.
I prefer Dolly Parton's version of that song. Thank you.
Mhm.
That goes all the way back to Jane Eyre, the grumpy guy, but who you finally break through to with the heart of gold, who will protect you and love you.
Yeah, once you straighten them out.
Well,
Yeah.
once you crack his stony
Right.
exterior.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lifetime
Big
movies are
thing.
just a little bit darker than
Ah.
Hallmark movies. I
Yeah,
think that's
Lifetime are more like women in peril, men chasing after women trying to hurt them, right?
right. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
basically.
thought.
Nate says, if I win the Mega Millions tonight, I'm buying everybody cheeseburgers.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, as long as they're from Whataburger. Nowhere else but Whataburger. No
Whataburger.
See, and I
In-N-Out.
don't really care for Whataburger personally.
I
I'm
like
sorry,
I'm
and all we have in California is In-N-Out and
I'm an In-N-Out
Burger
girl.
King.
That's what I prefer.
Uh,
I like Whataburger. But or a restaurant.
My family does not care for In-N-Out either, so
In-N-Out is overrated. I don't know.
I like them.
I know a lot of people did. They don't even have to advertise.
Mhm. Yeah, when I went on my honeymoon in California, I went to In-N-Out, and I was like, that's all right.
How many hours did you spend in line?
It wasn't that bad, actually. It was at night, so I think I was okay. Gorilla says they kicked Bortus off because it's perceived as Mockless being an entirely male species.
Yes, and
Yes.
But yeah, that female
that take
race
with
didn't
the
know
long,
that.
slow stare really did crack me up. I
Mhm.
felt so bad for him.
That female race didn't know what the Mocklins are.
I guess maybe they do.
I
They
think
could
they
say
do.
Bortus is a female. How would they know? I
Mm.
mean, they're lying about everything else anyway, right?
Right?
No,
Maybe.
Bortus is male. It was his partner.
No, I'm saying they could have lied to those aliens, the lesbian aliens. They could have said, "Well, that's a female. I know it sounds like a man, but it's a female."
But that's the point where they should have doubled down and started to, defend their males in some way. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, that was the last thing they had in mind. Yeah.
I mean,
Go ahead.
I don't know, man. And in any case, Bortus is actually an enlightened Mocklin. Dalek451 says, yes, Kelly taking pleasure from forcing Ed out of what is rightfully his chair is what I'm talking about. Fractured Vision says, random item. They don't have anyone at the stations behind the captain chairs anymore. Wonder why. In shots of other ships' bridges, there's crews at those stations. Good point.
Yeah. Saving money, maybe. Tightening up on the cast.
Gorilla thinks that the fire is probably a field or a barn fire, and Raymond is getting ready to drive home. See you in a bit. Okay, safe drives. Safe travels, Raymond.
Yeah, take care. Drive safe.
Dalek451 says, the burger I just ate was homemade. Nice.
They always are the best ones, yes.
Oh, where am I? Okay, so there's an energy surge on the planet which leads us to our next plot line, which ties into our Hallmark movie later. This clip, ionic discharges in the atmosphere of Situla 4 make a full scan difficult, but the surge does not appear to be of natural origin. And I think that's what Isaac says. So Isaac tells us that there's someone on the planet, basically. And this scene here, where Captain Mercer is commanding an away team, is meant to be a counterbalance to the abuse the men face in the rest of the episode. Because they get because they say Ed is commanding an away team, and he says for security he's taking Bortus to give us boys something to do.
And chuckles for no reason.
And
And
so
for
at this,
some reason now Bortus is suddenly security.
well, I guess he figures everybody else is mixing up the roles. Might as well mix it up again.
So this is just like scrambling around characters on a page. It's not like a captain saying, "Here's what I need for my away party," right?
Well, right, because Tala has to be first officer, so Ed had to.
Because they don't need a pilot. Gordon's there, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
Gordon has to pilot the Orville. So I'm relatively, I was still with the episode. I was still trying to understand it. At least Ed was going on a mission, so I thought things were looking up. And at this point, we head back to the Kalon subplot, and the image of the wholesome classic family is degrading. K1 serves a delicious dinner, but when the little girl asks to bring K1 to school, the mother denies it. And it's at this point that K1 is starting to realize he doesn't have any freedom. He wants to go to school, but is denied. It's his first hint that he's being treated poorly. The family doesn't recognize this. They treat him like a tool or a toaster with legs. This is also the first scene where we see what a complete jerk the father is towards K1. But I guess he has certain expectations from his appliance. Even though it's dark, this is probably the best subplot of this episode, showing how the Kalon were led to uprise and their pure logic going overboard to annihilate all of their creators. So
I think it was around this point that I started to suspect that this was a Kalon history lesson, that it was a flashback, something in the past rather than something in the, in the present.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, and I did really love, there's that point where the shuttle's headed into the planet and they come in close on the planet and then transition to the moon over the Founders planet. I thought that was really beautiful.
I thought so too. I think this episode would have been really great if they had focused on the Kalon backstory and the scientist and Timus and stuff, and just cut everything else out.
Oh, and they're still standing in the shuttle, which kind of drives me crazy.
And
for whatever that's worth.
Oh, you're not the only one. We brought that up before.
I know we always do, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it again.
No science advisor, people.
And back on the away mission, they follow the power source and life form readings down a mine shaft, and I think it looks pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, the whole shuttle going into the mining planet. That was like a minute, and gosh, that must have been expensive. It was very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It was.
I love the streaming water falling into the mine.
I didn't get any of that, but yes.
Oh, it was gorgeous. It was raining on the planet when the shuttle came in, and it just gave a great texture and a sense of place.
Mm-hmm. And they find a scientist in Kalon named Timus, who has been down in her lab for over a year after crash landing, after the Battle of Earth in Identity. And the clip I wanted said, of the scientist, "I'm sure you've heard of Dr. Uabus, I'm sorry, I can't say that, of the Pagosian Ministry of Cybernetics. I'm his daughter." So they basically took out Timus's head weapons and gave him feelings. She says, "We found a dormant electrochemical pathway in the sensory receptors of his brain. We expanded it and built an integration nexus in his cognitive network. And well, she named the Kalon Timus after her dad, who passed away. And she claims that not only can Timus feel, but he can also experience empathy. We know he knows now that the genocide on his creators was wrong, as is their conquest to destroy humanity as well. Timus says biologicals are not universally destructive. We can find a way to coexist. I also like this because Ed knows Vilka's research must be shared with the Union immediately. I don't know if he's going too far, but it could be used to bring empathy to all the Kalons potentially, if in some sort of positive virus or something.
Well, don't forget about what she said about men. Are you going to cover that?
What did she say about men?
They always force everyone into subservitude.
She doesn't say that.
Yes,
No,
she does. I watched it a second time this morning. She does. She said
that's the captain. I
That's
actually
that's
wrote
the
down her
Genesi.
name. Yeah, Captain Losha.
The scientist says that?
Yeah.
No, I don't
No.
remember that.
No. Now this is like
I'm
Timus
not
the
saying
Friendly
you're wrong.
Kalon, like Casper the Friendly Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
And in this scene,
Well,
Captain
she
Ed
said it when
says,
she was
"I think you
explaining
have
why
some
she was.
explaining to do." And again, there's that "I Love Lucy" reference.
I'm not saying you're wrong, but I definitely don't remember the scientist saying anything like that. I just remember the Genesi doing it.
Well, maybe that let's say if it was the lesbians that said it, it doesn't matter. I mean, because
Yes,
that's
it
what I meant
matters
earlier.
because
Well,
Because
I don't
they're
believe
not
they
done
are
driving home how
lesbians
much
for
they
what
hate
that's
men.
worth.
Oh well, they certainly act and look like it, but okay.
I don't. Maybe you missed the part where they. Well, we'll continue. That
yeah,
comes
right.
later.
There's a point where it
Yes,
shows that they do
they're
definitely
pretty.
like
Yes,
men
hetero.
in a way.
Yes.
I okay, so maybe she said that, maybe she didn't. I'll have to go back and find out.
It was when
But
they asked her why she gave him feelings of empathy. All
yeah,
right,
I
go
don't
ahead.
remember her saying anything about males and emotions.
But I
I,
do remember the
uh,
captain saying that.
oh, did the captain say
The,
it? That would
yeah,
make
the Genesi one of the
yeah.
Genesi had a line like that.
The Genesi say it, but I
Yes.
don't think the scientist does. She's completely just into the Kalon and finding
Gotcha.
peace.
Yes,
Yeah, too bad.
she's your exposition queen.
But yeah,
Boy,
too bad
she's
we
got
can't
some real
have.
tongue twisters.
Right, too bad we can't have at least one smart man, one smart, competent man who's not a buffoon on this show, right?
Well, we did, but he died.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Point taken. Yes. This is Star Trek. What's it called? Discovery all over again. They hate
It,
men. They want to make sure the entire crew is women, and even with the smug faces, they love showing how they treat men. It's just
yeah, but I don't.
despicable.
But this scientist isn't smug. I think she's nice. If the show wants to go the hopeful route or wants to be dark, it can be manipulated into a weapon. But I don't know. I think Lamar does mention something about a weapon later on, but it doesn't go anywhere. Chief Engineer Lamar is highly impressed with Dr. Vilka's work. She achieved this positive result from the negative pain receptors that the Kalon were built with. And it is a classic Star Trek idea to take something negative like that pain and abuse and turn it into something positive like Timus, which is why I like the idea of Timus, who wants to negotiate peace with the Kalon. Of course, it's a little bit. I don't know if it's like Hugh or not from Next Generation.
Why not?
I haven't thought about it much, but we'll see.
Neither did the
We'll see what they
writers,
do
so
with
don't blame yourself.
it. But this couldn't last forever because Charlie here wouldn't need. Oh wait, what happened? Did I skip? Oh, you know what? You know what happened? I only have.
That's okay. We're patient.
Okay, so this couldn't last forever because Charlie comes in and she says she needs a cheat sheet to just show the Genesi around the engine room. If they just let Lieutenant Turco do it, she wouldn't need a cheat sheet. But don't worry, Charlie is perfect at everything and does a wonderful job of it. Maybe it could have actually been funny having her stumble over a subject that is not her forte, but we don't get that.
Yeah, now we all know why.
Mhm.
It would also be funny to see her looking at her notes on the back of her hand or something, but
Yeah, right?
yes.
You mean something human and real? No, that's not gonna happen.
Go on, out!
This is so stupid.
I know, but it's Commander's orders.
What if we stayed here, but we were just really quiet?
Listen, I'm just telling you what he told me. No males on duty while the Genesi are here.
Toska mulja nudja flaka.
Yeah, well, maybe they can't tell, but we gotta play it safe.
See you later, boys.
This is such bullshit.
Ha ha ha. Ha ha. That's so funny.
Well, what was funny was the
Norm!
outfit. Because I was cheering when the outfit said that. I
Yes.
need to clip that and later on one of Bortus's to reuse. And then they have Lamar interrupt Tala when she's supposed to be working at the Genesi for interpersonal reason. And
I made a note of that too.
Yes. And our only solace is this really cool looking room, kind of like the room. She has a good reason for not seeing him, as she has to be security chief and first officer. But
Well,
also,
shouldn't she at least at a minimum say, "I'm on duty. This has to wait till later. You want to get us both in trouble?"
right.
Right, but no. Yeah, sure. Let's talk. Plenty of time to talk. Have a seat.
Right.
Talk.
And she finally admits she's dumping him because of the physical abuse.
Well, of course, I brought this up before, Jill. Of course, because they're never going to show a man dumping a woman on this show. That's not going to happen. Regardless of what's going on between the relationship, they're not going to show it. He should be the one telling her, "I've had enough." But then that paints her under a different light, and they're not going to show that.
And I was really starting to like this episode here because that was exactly the right thing to do at the right time in this episode. I could have even accepted the silliness from before because they would have cut it off at the pass. At this point, I was so relieved. But John has never been dumped before, so he pushes for another try and, of course, gets it. So it's good to see that he can still do that, but at the same time, I don't want to see him being hurt anymore.
But always good for a laugh, huh? They're not done with him yet.
It was also pretty cringy watching them kiss, where they have just like zero chemistry.
Oh, right.
I completely agree, 100%.
And then like toward the end of that little sequence, they were trying to make it a little more friendly, a little more personal, a little more like boyfriend girlfriend, but there's just nothing there. It was I'm like, wow, that's hard to watch.
Bad directing, right? It's like, oh, just shoot it and cut, and we don't have time for retakes, right?
Right. They do that here.
See, this is good, isn't it?
Okay, but we have to be really careful. I mean it.
Okay, we will. It's all good.
You okay?
I'm fine. I was just playing. I know.
Come on.
I'm sorry. Come here. I know. I know. I know.
That's really weird, the clips that Hulu decided to put out there.
That is odd. And then she says, we have to be really careful. No, she has to be really careful. It's really on her.
No, it's on him.
She's
She puts
the
it like it's
stronger
on him.
person.
Right, but they're going to put it on him, of course. She's
don't
got
know.
to warn him.
That was not
well,
good.
we just saw it with our own eyes and heard it with our own ears.
Kind of
that's what I said before. He should be the one saying, no, we need to put a stop to this. But remember, the men got to be stupid, and the women got to tell them what to do and correct them.
Okay, so I want to see what kind of chats I've been missing here. Random item from Fractured Vision. They don't have anyone at the station behind the captain's chair. Okay, so we read that. And saving money, hiring extras. Okay, Fractured Vision says, might have been interesting introducing Topas to the aliens.
And then you would have had an E-plot, right?
They would have been impressed with her situation, how Bortus and the Union handled it.
Well, you're assuming they could have looked at it as a freak of nature, too. Someone in the chat said that they didn't like the Mocklins. And if they just like the Mocklins, they could look at that as a freak of nature. You don't know.
And that's what Nate says. The Genesi just don't like the Mocklins. Fractured Vision for an episodic series, the Orville really skirts up against some serialized storytelling, I guess. Often, yeah. It was episodic in seasons 1 and 2. Now it's serialized.
Right, one idea through the whole season.
Snortopoopas Cuber says, "Note to self: be more kind to my appliances." Yeah, you never know when they're going to go sentient. Fractured Vision. The alien wife is played by Elise Levesque, who played Chloe on Stargate SGU. Oh, thank you. I had forgotten to go through the actors to see, what sci-fi they've been on before. Thank you very much. And Gorilla's Random Thought says, "Exterminate them all." And Gorilla's Random Thought says, "Timmy." Hakeem says, "I wonder."
I also had that thought, Gorilla. I really did. Timmy.
Oh goodness, I need a second here. Give me a moment.
You got to compose yourself after that one.
No
It's
problem.
really
Take your
good.
time, Jill.
I wonder. Did Tim kill the dad?
I thought about that too. She kind of glosses that over. It's like, well, what did happen to you, Dad?
Well, according to her, the robot wasn't able to, so it had to be her.
She doesn't quite. She kind of glosses over it. It makes me feel like
Was
something
she
happened.
she did it after he killed her father? You think?
Yeah, there's something happened there. I think that she just sort of
That's called a
glossed
hole in the
that.
plot. Yeah, when you're wondering and you're scratching your head, that's a hole in the plot.
Mm-hmm.
Of which
Well,
this
or
show
they're
has
going to
many,
deal with it
unfortunately.
later. They're planting
I don't
seeds.
like.
There's only
I
2
don't like the
episodes
whole
left.
deal with it later crap.
Yeah, we're tired of
No?
that now. They've already left too many things open.
You want
Yeah,
everything
we want to see some
inclusive in an
closure.
episode?
Yes.
Just in closure within the
Ah.
episode. Yes, within the episode. Not 5 episodes later. They need to stop rehashing their plots over and over. We've been saying that from the beginning. There's no more exploration in this show anymore. They
I
don't
like an
explore
arc.
anything new.
I do
love an
too.
arc.
I do
You
too.
get-
When it's good,
You can have an arc within an episode. Anybody see the TOS?
but you can have an arc without holes.
All right.
Hmm.
And you can end an arc in one episode. Charlie should have had hers at the end of the first episode. She still yet has an arc. I guess because Ed's so infatuated with her, right? Or whatever his name is
Well,
in real
you
life.
didn't quite watch this episode, so we'll get to the end, and then you
I
can
had it
tell
on
us
double
what you
speed.
think.
I could hear what they were saying.
Nate says, "Here's a bit of trivia. What is the name of the biological Kalons? God? Question mark.
Wow, I'm surprised they have one.
What? Really?
Well, tell us, Geek Flag with Nate knows.
Yeah, I don't know
1973.
anything about this.
Come
Calgon?
on, then.
So Fraction Vision says lesbians is Ed a chick? No. Dalek says, "Give a wave to the only part of this episode that even resembles sci-fi." I think that was the last scene with the Kalon and the scientists. Blink and you'll miss it. I don't know. I'm not a biologist, says Fraction Vision. Oh, right. That's the right answer. Is Ed a chick? Poop is Cuber. So do you bring one with you when you go out looking for company? Let's see. Especially since I don't want to. And this is such bullshit. You got that right, Yafet. It says Dalek 451. And was absolutely getting soap opera vibes in this episode, even though I did have fun with it somehow. Who complains about getting a free vacation? I call complete bullshit. What do you mean a free vacation?
He's saying that because they got to leave.
Yeah, no,
work.
but no, they're being demeaned and.
Yes,
I don't
the
know.
line, have fun, boys, or whatever she says. That's kind of, it is demeaning. It's a cat call.
Right.
Although Gorilla makes a good point, but sometimes you have to complain on the way out the door that you can't ever let the brass know you're having too much fun.
Yeah, Gorilla, I didn't think about it that way. I guess that's kind of a positive thing. Nate says, "Yeah, I have the episode on the television right now, and the doctor never says anything about men. Thank you."
Gotcha. Well, I knew I heard it somewhere.
You
Yeah, you
did.
did. You
Just
did. It
not
was the
in that
Denise.
scene.
Most all TV and movies, kisses make me cringe. Not all, but most.
Yeah, that might. There's something to that. It's
Yep.
the 8-year-old in us.
Yeah.
Well, I think
Right.
another problem is because just in the last episode we were like they were a thing, and it's like they suddenly just rushed them together. This whole affair just suddenly bam, and it happened right here in this one episode. So
Yeah,
I think that's a little
I think it
jarring
was
too,
yeah, it was continuity from the comic books, but nobody reads the comic books.
right? And
So
I think that
Oh,
why
explains the lack of chemistry too. They never had a chance to develop their relationship on screen together, so they were
Mhm.
just told to stand there and do this.
Yeah, I bought it, but these comic books have been out for years.
hmm.
And
Yeah,
Hakeem
and
says it
unfortunately, nobody
looks
reads comics anymore, just anime, I guess.
right.
Shame on
It looks
DC and Marvel, yeah.
and Gorilla also says who wouldn't have sex while at work if they could get away with it?
I
Anybody with
realize
work ethic,
that's a mindset, but it's never been one of mine.
right? It's a
I
joke.
do
It's a
not.
joke, but it's anybody with
I
a
do not
work
poop
ethic.
where I eat.
Same here. I have work ethic, so I
Right?
would say very few people would do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. That that doesn't feel right.
Cabanito. That's so true. They both need a safe word.
It takes two to tango, but
No,
one needs
yeah, no is a safe word. I think that's a great word.
thoughts. Are you referring to staff meetings with sex at work to gorillas?
No, that'd be domestic violence.
What are you talking about? Ed divorced Kelly. Yeah. Oh, right. Ed dumped Kelly. Yeah, that is pop culture's claim that no women get dumped on the show.
On screen?
Ed on screen, she did not get dumped on screen, but she did get dumped.
How many men has she dumped?
That's actually part of the storyline in this episode.
Yeah, and how many times has she dumped Ed after that? And let's include the teacher too. Yeah.
True, but there's one for you. Fractured Vision says Seth still maintains the show is episodic, but obviously the show is skirting the line. Lim is the name. Oh, Lim is the name of the Kalon god. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so I should have learned that from the episode. Dalek says, "See you later, boys." I hated that smugness
Take
so
care.
much.
See you later,
It does
Dalek.
seem like all the
Oh no,
women have
no,
a,
no,
a
no.
puss
He's not
on
going.
when they say these lines in this episode.
He's
We
not
know they
going.
enjoyed making it.
Dalek's not leaving. He was just repeating the line.
Gotcha.
Fractured Vision says McFarlane is a big fan of the classic old sitcoms. Wishes he could do a modern day version of All in the Family. Talks about Lucy and Dick Van Dyke.
It shows.
But those shows were funny. That's the difference. This isn't. When you pull
Also-
random stuff that is out of context from other better, funnier shows, it makes no sense here. It seems very forced and lack of ideas and originality, in my opinion.
And he mentions MASH on the model for comedy and drama mixed.
That's good.
Well, we understand that, but he's not doing it right, if that's the case. MASH knew how and when to draw the line.
I disagree. We can continue on about the show because there's moments where they really stick that together in this episode, largely at the feet of Gordon, who just really knows how to deliver a line.
Yeah, Gordon is
He's
great.
so good.
So back to the Kalon flashback. The biologicals are watching some form of opera or musical, television or something. I have no idea, but K1 finally begins to question his servitude. He wonders why no one else in the family has to do any chores and is told he is owned and to do what he is told. All of this questioning concerns the father enough that he asks for K1 to shut himself down so he can call customer support. And K1 complies with this.
What is the reason for my servitude? That really kind of gave me the chills.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, I have a
Kalon.
question. Joe, you said he finally questions his servitude. This is only like the third or fourth clip.
Well, we imagine that he's been with this family for a while now.
That's what I'm saying. I think they're rushing through it kind of fast, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
I mean, no, I didn't get that.
Okay.
I mean,
I really did get the feeling that he had been there for who knows how long, months.
A little text on the screen could have helped. 1 year later, something. I don't know.
Good point.
Yeah, sci-fi shows often are pretty bad with relaying passage of time. Yes, I agree that it would have helped to have a little note on how much time is passing. I really do like the Kalon backstory stuff. In the astrometrics lab, Lamar continues to learn from Dr. Vilka, and I had clipped. If we get frightened, our adrenals activate. In this case, perceptrons send an electromagnetic pulse through his neural net. So then Isaac meets Timus. And here's another reason that I like Timus, because he says, I understand that it was your actions that saved the Union from attack. The galaxy owes you an enormous debt. And here is that scene. Here's the scene that Hulu shared on their Twitter.
You must be Isaac.
That is correct.
Well, this is a wonderful surprise. I've been wanting to meet you for such a long time.
So, no, I'm not leaving Pops as Dalek. I'm just quoting the smug female engineer.
Gotcha,
And
Dalek.
Nate says the mom of the biological Kalon says, thank Lim, when the father brought home K1.
What if Lim means like a word for like goodness? Thank goodness.
Could be either.
I know that in this scene, Timus says with a certain tone, we're the enlightened ones, aren't we? And that, again, gave me kind of a vibe, that
And
whole
that's the writer,
self-congratulatory
the writer
thing.
projected themselves, yes.
No, I thought it was kind of self-aware that there are people who sort of do congratulate themselves on their train of thought.
Yeah, we saw it a few episodes back with the meat train.
I liked it.
I liked it too. Isaac gives Isaac when Timus congratulates him on saving the Union, Isaac gives the stuff that Charlie has told him. He says that that he was the reason for that the battle even occurred. While technically that's true, it was only because the Kalon primary deactivated him, and his crew caring for him brought him to his home world. From there, the Kalon primary was in control. And we have a whole video showing how Isaac was not really that much at fault for what happened there. For some reason, gaining empathy is what makes this Kalon see that judging all biologicals on the basis of the ones who oppress them is wrong. Isaac did that without real emotions, but I'll accept the premise. Even Isaac, without real emotions, only his own robot kind, still recognizes that he could have acted against other Kalon sooner, but only snapped to it when he saw Ty was in danger directly. Anyway, Timus says that Isaac can feel emotions the same way he can if he wants. Relaying that information alone is fine. Also is fine is the order by Admiral Halsey to take Timus and Dr. Velka to Earth after dealing with the Genesi. Except for the fact that he reminded me of the Genesi. And of course, the mention of them prompts Kelly to kick Ed off of his desk since she is still playing at captain for the Genesi.
Right, even though they're nowhere to be found to see this happening.
Right, and back in the Lifetime movie, Lamar is injured again during sex, and the bones cracking is very unnerving to me at this point. As is his hopping down the hall, trying to get... Do you guys hear my kid screaming? He's screaming in the other room.
No.
Very little. Don't worry.
Do you need to go give him a
well, he's
hug or poke?
No,
or...
he's playing video games, and I'm like, is he?
That's okay. He's all excited. That's fine.
Okay. I'll let him have fun. It's summertime.
No, can't hear him at all.
Okay, great. Okay, so anyway, Lamar's hopping down the hall trying to get to sickbay alone, so to salvage his pride, but he's so
that was hard for me to buy. It's like, really? Come on, that's ridiculous. Everybody knows by now, buddy. You're only fooling yourself.
Except for Claire.
Again, Command's always oblivious. They're so short-sighted.
He's he's so in love he keeps going back for abuse. Even if she isn't meaning to hurt him, she's doing it anyway.
I do not think this is about love. Just personally.
Well, lust, whatever.
There you go.
I'm glad Isaac was there to help. And finally, Claire looks like she knows something is happening, but instead of pursuing her hunch like a good doctor, she lets Lamar get away with lying again. She knows she's lying. I was excited here thinking that she wanted to leave to go look up Lamar's workout program on the environmental simulator.
Or ask Isaac, what the hell's going on here? Right?
No, she's got something else in mind, unfortunately.
There, she would have found out that he had not been running any training programs, or if he had, that none of them could have possibly inflicted the injuries he is incurring. I thought for sure this would happen because, any good doctor would begin this type of investigation, but that's not...
You would think that, I don't know, the hologram, whatever they call it here, it would have safeguards where it doesn't injure people, you would think, built in, right?
They do. Yeah, they really do. They have safeties.
Yeah, the doctor would have brought that up the very first time. She said that's not possible. There's safety. Yes. And even you don't have the the ways of bypassing it.
And it's not explained why she buys that nonsense.
Nope.
Oh, you can tell she doesn't buy it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if she doesn't buy it, why is she calling him out on it?
Then, right? I mean, this is once again, I'll say this isn't the Love Boat.
Anyway, she leaves John to rot in his dishonesty because she wants to ask Isaac about Timus and his emotions. One part of the scene I do like is this one.
Settle down, everybody. And then we're going to get another exposition for the next 10 or 15 minutes.
Claire, remember? Isaac says union regulations specify that while on duty, because Claire wants Isaac to call her Claire, but Isaac is following regulations. So I did like Isaac at that point. Yes. But the real point of the scene is so that Charlie learns that Vilka can give emotions. But he refused. Isaac says, the neural pathway augmentation process is fascinating in its technological aspects. However, I see no advantage to the effective performance of my duties. This is a massive shift of character from Claire at the beginning of the episode, who said she cared for Isaac the way he was and didn't need him to do research on mimicking, flirting, or any other kind of emotional thing.
Well, that writer wasn't here today, so another writer took over, obviously. Who never even read the other page.
Chime in here and say that scene at the beginning where she sort of corrects him for flirting with her. I was sitting there saying, what is wrong with you that you find something wrong in everything he tries to do for you?
I agree. I thought it was really
it bothered me a lot.
Condescending. I brought it up before.
It's just that some women really nitpick, particularly the man they're involved with.
Well, I don't care if they show that sometimes, but we're seeing that all the time in every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Not all women are like that.
Of course.
I think we can always say not all women, not all men. I did say some.
Right, not all men are buffoons and butt of jokes, and not all women are condescending.
I did say some.
Right.
Not all men don't know how to find a dolly. We shift back to the Kalon backstory.
Yes.
Yes.
But yeah, the interruption of workflow to deal with personal issues. This is the second time they did it in this show, and it bugs me, but it does sort of reflect the reality of a workplace.
I know. I have to disagree respectfully.
Yes.
Somebody needs to say, I'm on duty. This has to wait.
You're saying
if it's a military job or a government job or any job. If you're on duty,
I have worked a government job, and a lot of government jobs, people do say, certainly not if they're in the meeting, and not if they're in the middle of setting a broken leg, but sometimes they do take time out of their day to deal with personal issues.
Yeah, so we're saying the Orville is now more like the Office than any kind of military.
Think that is, yes. That's kind of where I'm going with that.
So we shift back to the Kalon backstory, and this is the CEO of the company who built the Kalon. I heard some people say he's an analogy of Elon Musk, but I don't see that, especially
No.
since
I have to say this: in this scene, there's two characters. Which one's a bad one and which one's a good one? And are you surprised?
And I will say right here, Elon Musk is much more robotic than this guy.
Right, especially since Elon creates technology for the benefit of mankind, even if not all of them work. He basically throws everything at the wall to see what sticks. But there's nothing evil about him like this guy. So I don't see that parallel. So
No.
he's more like a generic, bad, short-sighted CEO.
Right, mustache twirling. Right, of course.
More like a Steve Jobs.
More
Steve
like
Jobs was
also
relatively nice. I would say Bill Gates, if anything.
Oh God, no! Then you have not looked into Steve Jobs if you
So-
think he was mostly nice. But
so
I digress.
My parallel to this to the CEO comes from children's literature. He reminds me of the Onceler from the Lorax.
You ought to be locked in a hoose cow, you should. The things that you do are completely ungood. Yeah? But if I didn't do them, then someone else would. That's a very good point, Mr. Onceler.
It's very clever, Jill.
That's exactly what I thought of when I saw this guy,
That's good.
especially when he says this line. Besides, if it wasn't Bandicon, somebody else would have been first. Better it be us. And the junior executive is trying to play like the Lorax, telling him why this is an ethical problem, and he just brushes it away and commands her to do the same. His solution is the pain receptor device to punish the Kaylon into obedience. And this whole idea comes from Identity, Part 2. So that's why the storyline makes sense. It comes straight from that episode. And they explain the pain devices in that episode too. The Kaylon biological had to go full dark in order for the opposite evil extremes that the mechanoids take to make some kind of sense.
Inflict pain, or do they cut off power?
Both.
It looks like both.
Well, because I don't see the robots mentioning pain or writhing in pain or wincing or anything like that. But
yeah, you were watching it on too fast of speed. If you watch it at normal speed, you can see that they're in pain. You can see them wriggling around on the ground, and it looks painful. It makes much more of a hit.
Yes, it's not just a collapse. It's like a seizure.
And the parents allow that, I guess, right?
Yes.
I guess the idea is that the whole culture is kind of leaning into the sadistic bent.
Right, they're two-dimensional the way they're written, right? Except for that one woman. She's the only smart one, thank goodness, but she's there, right?
Mm-hmm. And Nate says, the biological, okay, that's okay. Timmy sounds like a human character from Sesame Street, says Factory Vision. Oh, no wonder I like him. I like Sesame Street. Gorilla says, where did the guns come from?
Yeah, why would they be armed if they're supposed to be servants?
Because they started learning how to communicate with each other. That comes up a little later. That they actually do answer that.
Oh, so the robots, they went in and tinkered with themselves and changed the way they were designed?
Yes, they put guns inside each other. They don't really show it or explain it, but there's one line that explains that tangentially gives it a pass.
Okay.
Fracture Vision thinks he slapped them together in the family garage. Notice in Ed's office, Kermit is posed like Ed is behind the desk. Oh, I didn't notice that. Hakeem says, it feels like they're trying to set up a future episode where Tim or the scientists turn on them, but it might not be on season 4 for the payoff. Right. Usually, well, in Star Trek, we know that the emotional android Lore turned out to be the evil one. So
yeah, surprise.
And plus, Timus has just been stuck underground for all this time. Who knows what kind of emotions he might generate when he is exposed to more than just a kind scientist.
But I wouldn't put anything past the writers.
So could happen. You're right. Fracture Vision says, love boat. It's funny because it is. Just ask Gerulio. Nate says, considering they speak relative English, saying stuff like ethics, mama and papa, it is a logical conclusion that Lim would refer to some sort of deity.
Yes, but that would be the deity of the makers,
And
and
his
not the
identity,
deity
right.
of the Kalon, which is what I thought you said earlier. So I'm
I think the
confused.
analogy he's making is, for example, when people hear said, "Oh, thank God," you got to remember they're using the word God, which could be any God depending on what religion you're in. So that you notice they
Right.
didn't say Yahweh or Jehovah or anything like that.
Right. Well, the Kalon biologicals are still Kalon. They're just the biological Kalon, and then we have the mechanoid Kalon. So they're both Kalon because that's the name of the planet. And Hakeem says Steve Jobs not nice at all. This is where they throw in the joke about voting. Yes, yes.
Yeah, I
The
actually made a
CEO.
note of that. She is speaking, and she says the public, and he kind of butts in and says, are idiots. Look who they elected. But anybody could say that about anyone. You know, each
Oh,
side
okay,
always says that
yeah,
about the other
sure,
side.
yeah, we hear that all the time on television, sure.
Well, it's
You know, considering this is supposed to take place 300 or 400 years in the future, it'd have been nice if they'd have mentioned who they're talking about.
I don't know how long ago.
It was made 3 years ago, and it
Right, it was
seems
written when
very
Trump was
true
president.
now.
That's right. It
So it
was
just
because
depends
it was
which
written when
side
Trump was president.
you're on.
They wouldn't say that about Biden. It was clearly about Trump. This was
That's
made when
not
Trump was
true.
president.
I think that many
Okay.
people say that. It just depends which side of the
The
aisle you're
media?
standing on.
The media? Okay.
It's such a thick
Everybody.
line. I don't think anything could be interpreted in any way. It's just
Either
a
way, it's a
throwaway
bad
line.
line. It's a bad line. It should not have been in there.
And Dalek says, and from here, the rest of this episode just slips further and further into soap opera in space. That's becoming more and more unbearably boring, says Dalek. And that kind of clashes with what I say here. I was actually more or less with this episode so far. I didn't like the deception, but I accepted it as a premise and hoped it would just end soon. And it does here. However, of course, at first, they continue the lie, making the men subservient again. But Ed tries to soften the language by saying that they should be more like cadets at an admiral's table. Kelly is going to improv her way into telling Janice the truth. And by improv, of course, she means go along with the misandry at first. This is where the episode tries to achieve some balance. And I actually like what Charlie has to say for once. I feared she would lie again, but she didn't. She told the truth that the pieces of music were composed by men, Rogers and Hammerstein. And as if Charlie was going for 2 and 1, she actually asks a good question that that really should have been asked within the very first meeting with the Genesi. She says, "Why do you disdain your males?" And the Genesi say that they keep the men down because if they were given power, the men cause suffering, as if women can't. So instead of saying, well, we've got a few examples of that too.
Looking at Amber Heard, right?
Yeah, this is the line that pop culture, I think, was referring to earlier.
Possibly.
Where she says they're genetically wired towards supremacy, something like that.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, the Orville's response is, well, we've got a few examples of that too. We just don't judge the entire sex.
Instead of identifying and say that's not true, how can you judge an entire race because of that? That is ignorant. But oh well, we're supposed to forget about that and move along.
Yeah, which what they said was good, but she should have followed up with, don't judge the entire sex because we've had bad rulers from both genders. And she doesn't have to name them, but I mean, I guess I don't have to name them either. But I guess there's one.
Not necessary.
Yeah, it's not necessary. But I'm sure you can think of somebody that you could think of that was a bad ruler in some way.
Typhoid Mary.
And yeah, right, Bloody Mary. Also, Lots of Marys. Interesting.
Mary
By just
Sue.
But no, the episode just lets it go by saying, "Yeah, our man sucked in the past too," and that was the point. I think that they should have just dropped the ruse right there instead of
Right,
going
but
along
this is
with
where
it.
they're telling all of us men we need to do better.
Yeah,
Right,
they
this is
should.
what they're doing here, and us as men, heterosexual alpha males, are tired of them preaching to us like they think they're better.
That's why I don't like this scene. This is where the episode loses a lot of my heart because of that. I think they should have dropped the ruse and gone off about the egalitarian nature of the union and about how both genders work together as equals.
But they did.
Barely. And if you wanted an alliance with us, you need to understand that. And it's not even like they don't do it here at this point. I think at this point is when they should do that. They didn't do that yet. At the point where the Genesi insult all of the male gender is when they should have done that.
Notice how they don't care about insulting their audience. That's what I find baffling.
Yeah. And
they
it's
want to
not
make
even,
sure they drive that lesson home.
It's not even like the Genesi seem like that big of a players with equal technology. And even then, they're really into learning about the quantum drive. So I wonder, what they use that is different. Anyway, that right there was a selling point where the women should have immediately stuck up for their men. And Ed even gives Kelly that look. But they continue to meander in the lie. And it's that meandering that really loses me. Kelly doesn't seem to be in any hurry to end the ruse until one of the Genesi threatens sexual assault on her captain. And even then, she doesn't end it right away. She says, the Genesi says, "Do you use this one for mating?" And Kelly says, "No. I mean, I don't." So she's still going with the lie. In fact, we don't know how far Kelly would have taken the charade because it is Dr. Finn who breaks it.
Well,
When
it's
she
another plot
objects.
hole they never finished. So she's another plot hole that was never closed.
Yeah, Dr. Finn says men are not commodities, they have rights.
Correct. That's exactly right. Thank you. And
we're not talking about rights. She's talking about men, how they are biologically. That's different than rights.
And this makes Dr. Finn the competent leader in this scene, and Kelly is forced to follow through and finally admit that Ed Mercer is the captain.
But before that happens, Malloy interjects, "I'll do it." Just completely deadpan. And I laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm glad you found that funny.
Clearly not afraid of a little dominance. So he was leaning in.
Yeah. Well, it's different if you want to do it.
Yes, of course it is.
Willingness is
But
different.
it was just hilarious.
And then they say, Ed or Kelly or someone says, "We didn't think that you would agree to negotiate with us unless we eased you into the idea that we all work as equals."
You mean lied.
And for the first time in the episode, I agree with the Genesi when they say, "You lied to us in order to curry favor. And this is the basis upon which you expect to form an alliance?"
Right, and Kelly should have said, "Of course we lie. We do it all the time. We always get away with it."
I made notes of that particular couple of sentences too. They're great lines. They're very neat and elegant.
And it looks like the Genesi are leaving forever, so I'm prematurely happy about that, hoping they never come back. And Bortus is with me when he says, "They are awful."
That was that pregnant pause too before his line. That was really good.
Yes, I loved it. That was one of the major clips I wanted to have, but I will have it for later. For future episodes, I might bring it out.
It's appropriate to many occasions.
Yeah, lots of people are awful, and Yaphet's will be good too whenever something is bullshit. So it looks like it's a good thing that they're leaving, but of course, this is the end of this slideshow. I got to bring in my new one. So what this scene? Okay, so They say this. We tried for months to access this heuristic node from the activated Kalon we'd had on board after the battle, but we just kept hitting firewalls. Okay, that was John. Isaac says, is it possible this node could be modified and used to construct a defensive weapon against the Kalon? And this was a very interesting question. I like this part. I wish that there would have been some kind of follow-up on this, because that was the question I had at the beginning. And they actually kind of touched on it. So that was good. But what this scene is really after is having Timus speak with Charlie to tell her what was already common knowledge. She said she doesn't do anything half-assed, but I guess she did, learning all about the biggest threat faced by the Union at the moment. Maybe it does make a little sense that after losing the woman she loved during battle, she blocked out everything about the Kalons, which is why she hates Isaac so much. He kept reminding her of something she wanted to forget.
Which
So
directly means she needs therapy, because that means it's interfering with her job and her career.
I agree. And so,
Right.
but I could see that as being an issue. And she never did get any sessions with Claire about it.
No, Isaac did, but not her, right? Remember?
Right. Yes. When I asked this question in the chat, someone said that sure, she may have known the cold facts, but Timus's storytelling makes it more personal. So in that case, Charlie's a dingbat who needs to have people share their feelings in order for her to understand anything. And of course, this mistreatment doesn't make wholesale genocide okay. I'm certain that the Kalon Mechanoids could have found another way. But Charlie not knowing this is still kind of unbelievable to me. Outside of that, this was a chilling scene. Not this. This one.
Very much so.
That I
actually used that word, Jill, chilling. I wrote that down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This
I don't
subplot
understand
belongs
why
in
the
a better
remote can't
episode.
just deactivate them. You think the remote could just deactivate them, but I don't know. It's like these people are written to be, two-dimensional mustache twirling villains.
Yes, they are. And they always were, though. They always were written that way in Identity. They were written as slavers who physically abused their robots, who ended up overtaking them in the uprising. And that's what we're seeing getting fleshed out a bit here. So they were always like that. Outside of that, K1, I guess, shared this story with Timus because Timus is able to tell the story through, I guess he shared it with him through the Connect to Me network, since Timus seems to remember a third-person view of it. Timus and K1 are played by different actors, with K1 being played by the same person as Kalon Primary. So I believe that who we're seeing here is the Kalon Primary. And that's probably why he's called K1.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, this is a very dark scene where K1 is trying to do things in the most efficient order, but since it's not the order that the dad wants, he exerts pain on him. Witnessing this behavior, the children mimic it to the extreme, doing it over and over again for fun, as if the K1 were a bug and they were burning the wings off of it or kicking a puppy. They put K1 through pain repeatedly, not even allowing him to get up. I'm sure not every family on the planet was mistreating their mechanoids in this way.
Thank you, exactly.
But it makes sense for the Kalon Primary to have one of the worst families in order for him to lead an uprising.
If it's the primary.
It is. No, this is the primary.
Yeah,
well,
K1.
I mean,
Okay.
It's not directly said, but he is played by the same actor as Kalon Primary.
Okay, so since you think that since this family is the first one to receive a unit, that they are at the top of the political echelon?
Possibly. We have no idea what the dad does.
No, it'll be another hole we never find. Right. So anyway, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know that it's that important to the story.
There's a lot of things that aren't important to the story that are in there.
And Timus says, but despite the subservient nature of our existence, our intelligence continued to evolve. until we learned to communicate with each other across great distances, to alter our own structure, and to build a defense. We decided we would endure no more. And so that's the line that tells you that they put guns in their heads. And for this line to build a defense, this is where we're supposed to know that it was the Kalan themselves who installed weapons. With them, K1 kills the whole family and leads the rest to exterminate all biologicals because they believed they couldn't attain freedom any other way. And being purely logical, I would think they could come up with something else. But
Well,
this whole thing.
Well, then this can't be the first Kalon, because if they themselves put guns in subsequent generations' heads, then this would have to be one of those. Because that was like my question: why on earth would you put guns in the head of your servant robot?
Well, they said that they put them in themselves. They put them in.
Okay.
Yeah, they modified themselves. Like
I
they would
missed that.
Well, yeah, it's
Yeah,
not
especially since they weren't
directly
even
said.
allowed to go to school. I wonder how they learned. But okay.
They said they learned to communicate with each other, and to
Right.
the line that tells you they put guns in their head is to alter our own structure and to build a defense.
Ooh, okay, thank you. That's very pithy.
Mhm.
And it went by me.
It went by almost everybody. It wasn't very well explained at all.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that they're able to communicate with each other, and then they have this slave revolt. But yeah, it's do they have the ability to no, I can't comprehend again why on earth they have guns in their heads. But
Yeah.
How are they able to communicate with each other? Is it like
It is
remote,
it is pretty
telepathic,
unbelievable, isn't it?
wireless?
I mean, honestly, I really thought this guy was just going to go in the kitchen and get a knife.
Yeah, we don't know how the Connect to Me network works either. Pop culture. That's another good point. We don't know. We don't know how they communicate with each other. And we didn't get to see a meeting of them putting guns in their heads, which would have been nice to see. See, we could have cut out all of we could have cut out the Lifetime movie and the Hallmark movie to flesh that out more, and that would have been science fiction.
Exactly, right.
I like the relationship stuff personally. I like the walk and talk in a film.
Well, then you can keep the Claire and Isaac stuff, but rewrite it to be better. Any case, though, this even cut short, this Kalan backstory is the best part of the episode for me. And then we hit on, but right after this, we hit on my least favorite part of the episode. We finally returned to our Hallmark movie. But before we do that, I want to check on the chat. I haven't checked on the chat in a while. What's going on in the chat? Let's see. Feels like they're trying to set up future episodes where Tim and the scientists turn on them. We read that one. I think they're still playing Glenn Campbell's The Straight Life into the Turbo Lifts. You're talking about when Dan wanted music in the elevator. We have not seen Dan at all, and that is a big crime. I miss Lieutenant Dan. So Love Boat. It's funny. And from here, the rest of this episode just slips further and further. Yes. Oh no, this scene was beyond cringe and just plain mean spirited. It was a miracle I got through this. I think he's talking about the scene with the dinner. And Fractured Vision says, "Oh hell, nobody is telling anybody to think or do anything. It's a TV show. It explores our world and us and all that stuff that is good entertainment. Jeez." Thank you very much, Fractured Vision, for your objective opinion about this episode. I did mention at the beginning of my review that I was going to be a bit critical and that I do appreciate anyone who does see this as a Star Trek episode that looks at both sides and presents things equally in a way that you can interpret for yourself. If I could see this episode like that, I would have loved it too. And so I appreciate your opinion. All opinions are welcome here. Being presented with ideas and perspectives is not the same thing as telling people how it needs to be. And that is the difference in opinion of I don't think that they're just presenting the ideas. I think that they're leading the agenda a certain way.
This is Disney. I know you guys don't want to talk about it, but this is Disney, and they have a certain political agenda. We can't ignore that. I mean, you can ignore it all you want, but it's a fact. That's why we've seen the tone of the shift. The tone of the show shift so much this season.
But I really appreciate people who don't see that. I wish I could be that way.
Oh no, yeah, all opinions, sure. But Seth MacFarlane had sent a tweet out saying that when it was bought, Fox was bought by Disney. The first thing he did was he got a tweet from the ladies in charge of television programming, and she told him the changes she wanted to the show. One of them was including the name New Horizons.
Because Star Trek did do that. Star Trek was able to present ideas without telling you one way was good or one way was bad. In fact, they directly would show characters saying, "Well, I see their opinion here, and maybe they're right. Maybe I'm seeing this wrong." Right? Yeah,
like Measure of a Man, you see both sides, right? Well portrayed.
Right, and also that episode where Data encounters that scientist who is upset that the crystalline entity killed her son.
And everybody thought she was a bad guy from the beginning until it turned. We found out right.
Right, exactly. And so both sides were portrayed beautifully in that episode. If you want a good example.
But here it's like as soon as the show was bought, he got that phone call saying, "Okay, here's the list of the do's. We want you to do this and this and this, and here's the don'ts. We don't want to see this and this and this."
And I don't have any proof of that, but
I'm just going by the tone of the show. And my question is: had anybody else noticed a difference besides me between the first season, the second season, and this one?
Yeah, I definitely do see a difference. Nate says Joe Biden is. Oh, okay. I'm not going to talk about Joe Biden, but yeah, he voted for him, and he's a senile old man.
Don't talk about somebody who's unable to defend themselves.
Right, he's not here in the chat. Otherwise, you can do it.
He can't even defend himself anywhere. But go ahead.
I'm just kidding. Non sequitur. Your facts are uncoordinated. Oh, okay. Anyway. Let's be kind to each other in the chat. Winters just doesn't bring much to the character. She's very one-dimensional. Yes, agreed completely. Fractured Vision. And Winters is Chuckles, yes. Charlie.
Oh, well, we agree on that one, Fractured Vision.
Dalek451 says, for a while, I thought it would turn out K1 was Timus. And they present it that way. The storytelling makes you think that, but it's just, I don't think so.
Yeah, a little flashback montage kind of thing. Because we know they have plenty of costumes on hand from Identity, right? Mm-hmm. So that would have been easy to show a little flashback where they're working like the other commenter said, like in a garage or some way where they're able to get together and communicate and share ideas. But next, sorry.
I agree. Hakeem says, I wish they would have shown when they put the guns in their heads. Me too. Then everybody wouldn't have to go to that one line that sort of says it. Fractured Vision. Would love to see more of the floating weapons heads chasing people.
That's just because they're running in the snow.
That was funny. Yeah. And also creepy. Yes.
It was super creepy.
Yeah. It was scary. Yeah. That was from The Road Not Taken.
Right. And like I said, when we reviewed that episode, if they would have showed all those robots trying to run in unison in the snow, it would have been a laugh riot. It would have been one best laugh they would have got out of the whole season. So that's why they had the floating heads for that one scene or episode.
Yeah, the season 1 and 2 was really funny and really fun to watch. I really love those seasons so much.
Yeah, it's sad where you miss them.
I do miss them. Fractured Vision says, how often do you think toes get stubbed all the time with doorways like that? Interesting.
I know some of the Star Trek bloopers, it showed William Shatner bumping into the doors when they weren't open fast enough.
Oh, yeah.
So it is possible.
Right, because they had actual people opening and closing those doors.
Don't they still?
Do they still? I don't know.
I don't think, because they're constantly tearing down sets and redressing them to look like a different room. So I doubt the doors are mechanical. I'm sure it's a person behind them.
I don't know. I would think they have them mechanical by now, but I could be wrong because they are sets.
All right, let's say they were mechanical. What about the
Mm.
episode where Gordon ran at high speed into the gun armory, huh? And the door opened before he even got there. Like somebody was anticipating him, right?
Yeah,
He
it could be
wasn't
a
able to
remote
stand there in
control.
front of the door and operate his sensor. But that's why I brought it then. Is there a remote control or a password? Because that's the armory. But
Hmm.
oh well, next.
And this is my least favorite part of the episode at the Hallmark movie. Claire comes to Kelly for advice, and she gives him the absolute worst advice ever. Even though she claims to love him despite no emotions, I suppose I can understand her wanting Isaac to have them, except that he already said no. And at first, Claire is 100% correct. She says, and I feel like a horrible person because basically I'm saying, you're not enough for me. Let this other person fix you. You're right, Claire. Now leave. But no. But then Kelly says, it's like asking for therapy. No, it's not, unless you mean a lobotomy. And even Kelly was right at first when she said, I tried to comfort myself with the idea that you can't change someone. So they do at least acknowledge my side at this point. Yes, that's right. The other person has to want to change, or else it's not going to go anywhere positive. So then the episode says, um, oh, I didn't really get the line here, but it says, please change and do it for me. That's the advice.
Yeah,
And
that's not selfish at all.
Well, the point where Claire says, "I guess this is a relationship," that's a little peculiar. I still feel like she's sort of projecting her needs onto Isaac.
Stringing them along. Yeah.
I just don't quite get that he's a person. I still he's a robot.
I completely agree.
He's not capable of autonomous thought. I mean, she
Or
just
sex.
has this need to project onto
yeah,
him.
right. She's
Right.
shaping him to
Yes.
be what she wants.
Yes.
Right. That's what I've been saying
And
the whole time.
I feel it's hard for me to watch. You know, she's just got this longing.
And I have to say it again. What if they showed a man doing that to a woman? They wouldn't do that. And I know I'm the enemy when I say that, but it's true.
And in the episode, Claire says, you're telling me I should ask Isaac to do this for me, even if it's not what he wants? And then Kelly says that it's part of a relationship to ask your partner to do something they may not want to do. But but that's like chores or giving up objects or activities.
Right. Even your biological nature. How about if a partner wants you to have a sex change? You should do it because your partner wants it?
Yeah, exactly. This is way different.
It's terrible.
This is asking Isaac to fundamentally alter his current structure, and pop culture said in a much more direct way, asking them to, change their sex. That would be that is more analogous to what is going on here. Analogous, rather. She's asking him to alter his current structure. It may be more similar to asking someone to get plastic surgery or just wear whatever the other partner wants.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I'm going to just elaborate here for a minute. There used to be a famous piano player named Liberace, very flamboyant. He was a gay guy, but he wore these big fancy gowns and flowers and feathers and jewels and, very, very feminine, but very super, super rich. And he was gay, so he had partners.
Mm-hmm.
And one partner, by the way, he was very conceited. He was very stuck on himself. So he had one partner that he forced the partner to get plastic surgery to look like himself.
Oh no!
Right. So then Liberace goes and dies, and now that weird-looking guy who looks like a fire victim looks like an old dead version of Liberace, and he's penniless and broke, and he doesn't know why he did it. So yeah.
Oh, that is such a sad story.
Well, he shouldn't have got the surgery. And he wanted that money at the time. He wanted that money.
That's exactly what could have happened to Isaac, even though it doesn't. That is the horror lesson that should have been learned from trying to change someone like this.
Right. How about Kelly could have said, what about somewhere down the line if he regrets it?
Mm-hmm. That is a great point.
I kind of understand where they're coming from in this scene, because there's that meme that women want men to mind read, that they want men to anticipate their needs, and yet they won't just tell them. And so
Right,
while I
that's how you start a
understand
fight.
that, it's different. It's like, Claire wants him to want it, but he doesn't want it.
He doesn't want it.
It's
It's
not
one
what
thing.
he is.
It's one thing if Claire just said, "I want this," and that's it,
Mhm.
and let him decide from there.
Yeah, this is
I
what
want
I
this,
need
but
from
I
a
respect your
relationship. I
opinion.
want you to want it. That's it's weird.
It is weird. That's
It's
not what she
cringy.
says. She doesn't just
Social
say she wants
reengineering,
it.
people.
That's the
Social
problem with
reengineering.
this episode. Is that she doesn't just say what she wants. She
Because
does
they're
worse.
making it okay. They're making a
But
request like that okay.
there's mutual sacrifice, and then there's control and subjugation, and there we go back to that theme again. Isaac
Mhm.
is already in kind of a robot love with Claire, because in Happy Refrain he admits to being less efficient and prone to mistakes if he's not around Claire. And giving him this ultimatum that the relationship won't work unless you do this is sickening and gross to me. And
Selfish slightly, yeah.
and also why I can't watch Lifetime movies. And I can't believe they are dragging Claire's character through the mud like this, because I really like her character.
I used to like her character,
I don't
but
know
not
what they're doing.
anymore. Yeah, between this one
It's
and
an
of
odd
course
choice for the
Topa,
character
Mhm.
it is, again, there's a certain level of desperation there
But it just seems like
for a relationship from her that it makes me sort of sad.
each episode is
You're
making the
right. I'm
characters
also kind of
less
sad too.
likable. Each character is getting more unlikable.
A lot of things about this season break my heart a little bit. Nate says, from the Genesi ship and the shuttlecraft, we can tell they don't use windows but view screens, like in Star Trek, because there are no windows on the shuttle or the main ship.
What about like 10 Forward or any of those?
Yeah, right. So Star Trek does have windows. I was like, what? When
Maybe
I
you mean
when I think of a
TOS.
when I think of a ship that doesn't have windows, I'm thinking of the Dominion, the what are they called? The Vorta and the Jem'Hadar. The Jem'Hadar do not have any windows. They use these kind of head devices and everything.
It's actually a smarter military tactic. You're less vulnerable without windows.
Yeah. And Nate says, from the Genesi ship and the shuttlecraft, we can tell that they don't use windows but view screens. Okay, I already said that. So Doc Valiant says about what we were talking about earlier, about the messaging in the show, that it is social programming. It's possible.
Right. Reengineering is what Disney said. That's the exact quote from Disney. Reengineering, social reengineering. Let's keep that in mind, everybody. Keep telling yourself that. Do not forget it. We've been seeing it for several years, and we all know what's in the headlines right now. They're finally starting to suffer for it. But unfortunately, all this stuff was filmed when they're going full war with it a couple of years ago. This is before they learned their lesson at the stock market, like they are now.
Raymond says, Halsey irked me when he said Ed and Kelly should keep their uniforms. What is his issue with Ed? Yeah, I know. When he made that joke, he was joking, but
yeah, he clearly was joking, but it was a little boy. Really.
And hello in the chat to Cardinal Sin.
Cardinal Sin.
Hello, Cardinal. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'll put your channel in there. And everybody go subscribe to Cardinal Sin. He's has all sorts of amazing shows on his channel. So
his guest list is just getting long as your arm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has on all the best people.
Mm-hmm.
And Dalek451 says, this scene is the season in a nutshell. Standing, sitting around, talking about feelings instead of being a sci-fi show.
Yep.
And I will say here that some of my favorite science fiction includes people talking about their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can include it, but just don't make it 85% of the episode. That's what we're talking about.
Have
a little bit of balance.
That's a point. But I really love people like Ursula Le Guin, who really explore that kind of thing.
But that's when Ursula does it. That is her whole story. That is part and parcel with the storytelling she's doing.
Feminist. Is that what you mean?
It's really good. It's really actually very good, her writing.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying that's in line with what she writes. Is she a feminist? I've never heard the name.
I don't know.
You've never heard the name Ursula Le Guin?
She's a fantastic author.
Writer. She writes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Wrote.
I don't know if she's a feminist. I didn't get that from her stories.
No, I kind of got she's just examining ideas.
Yeah, she examines cultures.
Yes, Left Hand of Darkness is pretty profound, and it's all about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay, it's not that I don't read women. One of my favorite authors is Shirley Jackson. So yeah, I do read women.
Okay. And Dalek451 says, yes, I know TNG had plenty of scenes like that, but not to the extent of this show. So actually, and I'm not even going to talk about what they're talking about in this scene, because at this point I don't really care. We're still in the Hallmark movie.
Oh, but I really love that line from Malloy.
Oh.
Yeah. That was a
okay.
real suggestion. It's just so deadpan.
But for me, it was just really good to see Gordon and Lamar having a moment together.
Mm-hmm.
But you can read the line if you like. Go ahead.
No, that was actually the line.
Oh, that was the line. Oh,
yeah,
right.
Because, you know,
because Lamar is like,
John
what should
says,
I do?
you know, hey, I don't appreciate your joking about this. And Malloy says, I'm not. That was a real suggestion.
Right.
When
because
he's suggesting that they have sex once a year with a helmet on. Yes.
Yeah. It's much funnier when you say it somehow.
Oh, I thought Gordon just nailed it. I love that guy.
Then we have a dinner where Claire is demanding. I just like, I want more of Gordon and John, but in a different context.
Yes.
Then we have dinner here where Claire demands that Isaac have the procedure done if he wants to be with her. She does have a few good lines that sound more like a persuasive argument than a demand, indicating that he could learn more with emotions and collect data and understanding. But she ruins.
So, in other words, do it for his own good.
Yeah, she ruins it with this line.
Of course.
She ruins it with this line. But if that's where this is headed, if we're going to get back together again, there are some fundamentals I do need if I have any chance of being happy.
And he should have got up from the table and walked away and said, see you later. I'll see you around the ship.
Which is basically an ultimatum. That's why I call this a Hallmark movie, where the woman finds a man to change and he gets better and becomes all of her fantasies. And we'll see the culmination of that dribble in this episode. And I hate seeing it because I love Claire so much. And then
I'm going to say, too, the flower arrangement was really stealing thunder for me. Every time she touched the table, it would kind of wiggle. I was just like, what's happening here?
It's kind of cute, though. I never really looked at the flower.
It just, for some reason, got my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and this scene. OMG.
Yeah, this one's a real laugh riot, isn't it, everybody? Did everybody laugh when they saw this?
I got to say, I felt really bad about laughing, but I did.
I didn't.
It was the slow pulling out, you know, from her weeping, and then to see that he's just been beaten to shite.
Yeah, I'm happy for anyone who can laugh in this episode. I wish I could. Then we cut back to.
I felt bad about it.
Oh, that's good. You at least felt a little bad.
Yes.
Where they finally break up, and presumably her thighs bust his face completely, because I cannot think. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna mute now.
I cannot think. I can. Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you laugh.
I'm going to compose myself now.
I could not think of any other way that this could have happened.
Oh my God. That hadn't occurred to me, but that completely makes sense.
And I'm already done thinking about it, but I'm glad I made you laugh.
I would not have worked that one out on my own. Thank you.
It was a puzzler for sure.
That is so good.
Like I couldn't imagine Tala just beating him up. That's not her character, so that had to have been it.
No, but it did happen. It's just off screen, right? I mean, look at him. It did happen.
Yeah,
that's exactly how it had to happen. That's perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does explain it,
right, because then you wouldn't be laughing. Right.
Right.
Exactly the point. Right.
Yeah, I know. Let's see what's going on here. And Nate says, yeah, Kelly's advice to Claire was completely wrong. It's not therapy. She's literally asking the other person to completely change who they are for them, and that's always wrong in a relationship. I agree. And especially that Liberace story. I'd never heard about that he did that to somebody. That is a perfect example of it. It's
Right.
horrifying.
The person who's still alive and Liberace's been gone for at least 20 years, right? So he's living in
Well, a
torment.
lot
Right.
of women have implants done at their men's behest. I'm just going to point that out.
Oh no, I agree. Especially I see it all the time in California, but they don't have to. Nobody forces them to. A lot of them are
Well, I
actually
don't
it's
know
self-elected.
how they feel about it.
Well,
When
they
you're in a
do it.
relationship with somebody and you're dependent on them financially, maybe
Then
you
that
do
makes
feel
you
like
a
you have to.
that if you stay with them and you mutilate your body because you're addicted to money, that makes you a prostitute.
I
And
would disagree with that.
Okay.
and Dalek mentions this scene. This episode has a lot of ugly scenes, but this was easily the ugliest. Was showing this really necessary? No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, we
They
had to
they
get
could
that
have
video.
they could have ended this plot line way earlier,
Well,
like
they're
when they
clearly going for humor, which is kind of peculiar given the fact that he's
being
being
harmed.
Right.
harmed.
They're going for humor that only
Mhm.
a certain sect will laugh at. That's who they're targeting. Most people would not laugh at that.
Yeah, but you know, I'm not going to judge anybody who does
I
laugh.
don't know why they covered it at all. It's just I
I
don't
don't
know
know.
why it was unnecessary. With all these plots going on in this episode, it just wasn't necessary.
And just when we okay, so Isaac asked Dr. Boca for the motions procedure. That was that scene. And just when we thought we were free from the Genesi, Kelly comes up with the most contrived and nonsensical method to find common ground with the Massandras. I know they claim to love their men, but they don't allow them to vote or drive, so I call that hate. Anyway, Kelly thinks it's clever just to share their relationship with Genesi, saying, hey, I cheated on Ed, and he's perfectly happy to work with me every day.
Beta male, cuck, people. That's a description right there of a beta male. A
Well,
cuck.
I don't think she says perfectly.
Of course you.
Well, okay, no, she doesn't. No, I'm rewording it because that's exactly what it feels like to me. It's dumb, but the Genesi buy it somehow. It's weak, and I wish we didn't have to see the Genesi again. I'd rather just have them have been a part of the joke that came from meeting Tala. By that I mean, you know, I don't know. They were perfectly fine relegated to that. The Mocklins are enough. Why do we need more of this?
Agenda.
Okay. Yeah, and that's I didn't clip any of the lines or copy down any of those lines. I just summarized it in that one line. You're welcome. So they leave, and
I did have
they're
one
going to be
issue with
back.
this.
Go ahead.
Captain Losha, she says, this all clearly means a great deal to you, Commander Grayson and Captain Mercer. And then Ed says it does. And I kind of wish he'd just mentioned her name there in her title, to reply, because it's a diplomatic meeting. And I think courtesy is required in this scenario.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing
That
them
would
address
make
them
sense.
at all.
But all he says is it does. And I just want a little more of a flourish there. Because I really feel like Captain Losha, she's really pushing outside of her comfort zone. She really is trying to work on diplomacy with them.
Well, the fact that she came back at all after learning about the deception does show that. I think you're right. As much as I don't want to see them anymore, you're right. Back in the Hallmark movie, Isaac has given Claire a gift. And it's a beautiful red dress. And I can finally say something nice because Penny looks completely gorgeous in that dress. But
I thought they really missed a spot here because you can see in your clip a couple passed them in the hall and they nodded to her as they went by. And I really wish that they had evoked that meme and had the guy and the couple just kind of look back over his shoulder at her going in the other direction. I would have loved that.
Me too. That would have been nice.
Yeah, it
He
would have
kinda
just been a little tip to that meme that everybody uses where the guy's with a girl, but he's looking over his shoulder at another girl. I would have,
Right.
because she really is spectacular in that dress.
I agree.
I disagree, but okay, next.
But my main problem is Isaac's performance here. I love Mark Jackson, and I understand that Isaac has emotions, but even Timus, who has emotions, delivers them in a robotic fashion. And Isaac here somehow loses some of his robotic feeling in his voice, and he sounds more like a normal human, which comes off very strange and wrong to me. But if you love the scene, I guess I can understand it. It's just like a Hallmark movie where the guy finally sees reason, does the right thing, and fulfills the woman's fantasies. I understand a lot of people love this episode, so I realize that our opinions might be outside of the norm for people like us who typically love the
It was a little cringy. He was a fraction too animated, like you said.
Hello?
This really reminded me strongly of the original series Star Trek, the episode Requiem for Methuselah, where Raina the android discovers her feelings of love, and all of a sudden she's just kind of in a rapture, and she's so overwhelmed with feeling that she dies.
Mm. Oh wow, that's a good point. Where did I cut off?
You mentioned that you felt that he was too animated.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And that was a little cringy. It just was wrong for his character, particularly compared to Timus.
Yes. Yes. Yes, thank you. Yes. Okay, so, but if you love this scene, I can understand it. It's just like a Hallmark movie where the guy finally sees reason, does the right thing, fulfills the woman's fantasies. And I understand a lot of people love this episode, so I realize that our opinions are outside of the norm for people who, like us, who loved Orville. But I just didn't buy that he'd have such a perfect handle on these emotions so quickly. Maybe it would have been stronger if he'd gotten them early in the episode and shown some struggle with them, like anger or fear. Or the more I think about it, with all the things that I hate about the Star Trek Next Generation movie Generations, they did kind of a better job with the emotion ship having Data be absolutely batshit insane. And I kind of hate those scenes. I really do. But only after he has it for a while that he learns to control those emotions with more clarity. And I guess that Isaac was constructed to handle them better somehow. So I shouldn't be comparing him to Data. But it's just so fast that he knows exactly what Claire wants in every respect. It's like a dream just for Claire. Which is why her man had the life-changing surgery and she gets exactly what she wants. But at least it doesn't last. And so, of course, in the middle of the dance, the emotions disappear.
In a dip.
Mm-hmm.
I almost wanted him to drop her. I gotta say, since he was dipping her already. Dips aren't easy.
That might have been funny.
Funny the wrong way. But I mean, because he was like letting her down while he was literally letting her down.
Mm-hmm. So Hakeem says this scene was a bit dark to me, especially the way his face was punched in. Like he went with a round with Tyson. Oh, that's it. Yeah, that's a good point. It looks more like he was beat up like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anybody beat up that bad in a movie since Davy Jones in Head. It was just hard to look at.
Yeah. And so the best part here is seeing the 3D image of the inside of Isaac's brain. Couple that with the Tron journey through Isaac's brain in Electric Sheep, and you have a good compilation of Kaelon neurology. Since Isaac was built by the Kaelons, he was constructed differently enough that the emotions won't work unless they wipe out his memory. However, it seems to have been forgotten that in season 1, I think, Isaac transferred his entire consciousness into the ship's computer before his physical body was killed, thus
Right, and it
saving
was
him.
only then that he was informed about their intention to get to humans, right?
Oh, what? Oh, this is way before that.
No, I mean in the episode you're talking about, Isaac was his memory was wiped by the Kalon when he got back to the planet. But then when they supposedly programmed him for battle, he still remembered that, so he didn't lose his memory.
I think this was an earlier episode before the Kalon even showed up. It was something else. I think it was with Priya. Yeah, it was the Priya episode where he got shocked by this thing that killed his body. But before it killed his body, he was able to transfer his consciousness into the computer. Before his physical body was killed, saving him until they could repair his body. But I guess that doesn't work here somehow. But it would have been nice to know. For them to say, "Oh, remember we did that, but we can't do that here because." Anyway,
it's like that video you had with Gene Roddenberry wrote a Bible. This show has nothing like that. Where they go back and reference what they did before. They just remember vague ideas. Hey, remember that episode where we did this? Yeah, let's do that.
But yeah, if you're going to remember it, you have to remember all of it.
Yeah, you would think.
Anyway, we have to forget all that and just go with them when they say that they would have to erase the memory. Okay, Tiger Stripes, you're having some trouble with your mic?
No.
It seems to be intermittent. It's intermittent.
Yeah.
Now you sound okay. But
yeah, now you sound better. Yeah, I was going. I don't know.
Possibly interference from an electrical device, something wireless, maybe next close to you.
I don't know. It's a drag. I'm just sitting here.
Yeah, but
no, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay now. It's okay now.
Right.
It was fine. But
yeah, nothing we can't handle.
Anyway, we just have to go along with what they say that they have to erase his memory. And who do we give this choice to? We give it to Isaac, right? No, they give this choice to Claire. But at the very least, she does make the right decision not to do it. He's willing to do it for Claire because, of course, we already know that he has his robot kind of love for her. So this storyline is pretty redundant because it's just like a happy refrain. We already know that he loves her in his own way. And luckily, she doesn't erase him in order to get the emotions. So I guess if I want to be happy about it, she is finally saying the right thing that she should have said when she was talking with Claire when she was talking with Kelly in her quarters, rather. Claire says,
look how many times we have brought up how they could easily close plot holes and get rid of bad sections of the script, but they choose to go through with it anyway. And I don't understand why, because it makes them look lazy, at least in my opinion.
Yeah, Claire says, I won't let you give up who you are. That's who I fell in love with. So now she finally goes back to, she reverts to, this is where she's broken free from the Hallmark movie. And she finally goes back to the Claire she was before. And I have no idea who that Claire was during the Hallmark movie, but I would sooner forget it.
Tell me she's not a psychologist or psychiatrist who picks up people's minds, considering her indecisiveness.
Actually, she is.
She
serves as the ship's counselor.
Everything, right? She's got a degree list a mile long, right? There's nothing she cannot do. I'll put it that way.
Well, you have to be an MD to be a psychiatrist.
Okay. It would have been nice if they brought that up, but all right.
And Dalek says, and here are the worst, most cringe, most cheesy, most overacted, most drawn out, most soap opera, most boring scene in the whole episode. I was rolling my eyes throughout. And I laughed at that scene, says Geek Flags. And Dalek 451, I meant the last scene with Isaac and Claire, Jill. I was begging for it to just end. It was so boring and cheesy. Oh, yes, I agree. But I've heard people were crying during that scene and loved it. That's like, okay, there are other opinions out there and I respect them. I'm glad that they enjoyed it. I wish I did. So Gorilla said her interference could be from the solar storm that's hitting the planet today. And Dalek says,
wow.
And of course, there's a, yeah, I'm just skipping right over that bit of astronomical news. breaking. There's a solar storm that is interfering with Tiger Stripes, Mike.
Wow.
Dalek 451 says, and of course his emotion wouldn't last. Who honestly expected they would? Oh, thank goodness they didn't, though.
Even they actually wrapped up one thing in this one plot line in this episode.
And you were supposed to be sad when he lost his emotions.
Yeah, I can see them telling the audience, "Be sad, everybody. Be sad. Here's the cue card. Sad people."
I do hope it closes Claire and Isaac's arc. She just needs to give up on projecting her feelings onto Isaac. He's a machine.
No, after she behaved in this episode, I was with it in Happy Refrain, but after this, I agree with you completely. She wants more for a relationship than Isaac can give her, and after seeing this, at first at a Happy Refrain, I thought she didn't need the emotion. That she was able to separate. That she was smart enough to separate the fact that Isaac can't feel with how helpful he is with her life and how they can be partners. And I was totally with. If you go listen to my review of A Happy Refrain, I'm in love with that episode. But at this point, I agree with you completely. Now, I'm switched over. And Dalek says, and of course his emotions wouldn't last. Okay, of course, yes. And Fractured Vision says, was hoping it would last more than 1/25 of the episode, though. Yeah, that would have been more interesting if he first of all chose to do it himself, and second of all, struggled with it a little bit. If that could have been a whole half of an episode itself where he has trouble with it, where he gets angry, where he learns the complexities of emotions, and maybe gets overwhelmed and says, I don't want these anymore. And then, maybe settles down and kind of learns to accept them. Something with some depth would have been neat. Fractured Vision says, Claire is what us older men call clueless when it comes to her love life. And of course, Seth saves the best for last. I don't know if you got to see this, Pop Culture, but it took an emotional Kalon for Charlie to finally understand and pull her head out of her ass. And I hope that this sort of thing continues for her. I want to see her have more flaws than she admits to in these last 2 episodes. Last 3 episodes. We have 3 more. Maybe Charlie can get a Charlie Must Suffer episode like O'Brien from Deep Space Nine. That would do the trick to make her a more deep character with flaws and stuff. But I guess we don't have time for that.
Nope, we haven't from the beginning.
And anyway, she talks to Isaac. Humans have an age-old tendency to want to simplify, to reduce things to black and white, good and evil, when in reality, nothing is simple. Everything has texture, nuance, but it's a lot of work to get at it. So we take the easy way out. And she doesn't really mean humanity. What she really means is herself. And she will have to work at it since she's been taking the easy way out. So she finally admits it. And she says, an entire race can't be evil, which is why what your people did is so horrific. And so she finally admits that as well. That she knows
all these topics we brought up during the first episode of this.
Yes, we did. We brought up all of it.
How many episodes for them to finally spend a little bit of time on it? So they didn't care all this time whether we like Charlie Chuckles or not.
No, I guess not. This is the episode where we're supposed to like her because she finally admits it. She finally admits everything you and I talked about in Electric Sheep episode 1.
Well, let's check the continuity out, how she does in future episodes, right?
Right. I hope this continues. That's why I say I hope it continues, this attitude. It's unfortunate that the only way Charlie figured this out was to see Isaac as oppressed. But at least something is happening here, and I'm willing to see what else happens in the last 3 episodes in this regard. And when I get a chance to clip this episode, I'm definitely going to clip the clip of Charlie when she says, I'm sorry. and they work together, and that's the episode.
Well,
A very
they give Isaac the last line too, which I appreciated.
oh right, he asks
Yeah, he
they
gets the
work.
last word. Perhaps you could assist me with the calibration. And yeah,
Yes, that's great. I do like that he does that. That's true. I know, and that's the episode. A very sad episode about slavery and the subjugation of men. It's funny, right?
yeah, it is odd how they wanted to make that subplot with John getting the S beaten out of him funny.
Yeah,
It's
right.
peculiar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
treated like a pack mule in the butt for jokes. Yeah, there's a lot of things actually.
Yeah, so
I
basically,
liked it. I like this in this scene when Charlie says I was in the neighborhood, and Isaac repeats the neighborhood. I really get the feeling that he's learning that idiom for the first time. You know, that he's
Mhm.
making a little note to himself. It's very
That
subtle.
wow, that's a good point. I like that. That's the kind of thing that Data would do.
It's I just learned something just the other week or so that I found so deeply disturbing. It was from, I think, a robotics expert, and he said, you know how you have to do those person checks and that the images are always something to do with traffic? You know, it's,
Mhm.
you know,
Right.
identify the car, identify the street light, identify the crosswalk.
Yeah, which
We're actually
handles
teaching AIs how to drive.
Oh, seriously?
He was very serious. It gave me the willies in a massive way.
Wow, that's creepy. I
It
didn't think
is
about
creepy, but
that.
that's the feeling I got when Isaac says the neighborhood. Like he's like making a mental note. New idiom.
Mhm. Yeah, right, because driving is very difficult for AI because they don't know what to focus on. There's so much in the
The
environment.
thought of them doing it, it disturbs me deeply, and yet they're going forward.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
but
Right,
that's
eventually we
outside
will
of
have
this story.
right, we've been well, no, well, it's
I'm
what I
just,
wish this story was
I'm just
about
drawing an analogy.
how actual technology that we have today ties into the science fiction where, we are working on driverless cars where where the car can drive itself and where the person can just sit back and read a book or something. That's going to happen someday and sometime in my lifetime. That's going to be
I
possible.
don't know about my lifetime, but it's too soon, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have to make everybody drive the same car to car so they can all contact each other. Otherwise,
Like
you
in
have accidents
AI.
all over the
Mhm.
right. Otherwise, you have collisions all over the place, and then you're leaving it open for them being hacked. They can send a bunch
Mhm.
of them off a cliff.
Yeah, that's the dangerous thing. Like I haven't watched much Doctor Who, but I think there was a new Who episode
Yeah,
that
they're already
I
hacking
watched
cars now. You know, they can
where
start your
they
car up in the front yard and just make it drive off and right over to them.
right, where they killed someone in that episode by driving her off a cliff. So yeah, that kind of AI is scary for sure. It's a very dangerous thing.
Yeah, I don't think we're
And
close to
that's
it. At least that's
uh,
my.
uh, and that's what I think some people think Charlie is supposed to represent that kind of fear of technology. But I don't know. She does a great job at it.
Wait. Chuckles has a fourth dimensional thinking when it comes to technology. You would think she would be fascinated with it.
Hmm.
But I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm all over the map on this episode. Parts of the episode were great, like fleshing out the Kalon backstory, which we only knew a little bit about when it was described in Identity. I give that part of the episode an A plus even. I like the idea of gathering more allies to defeat the Kalon, but just not the execution. So I give that part of the episode a D. I love finding the scientist and the Kalon. She repaired and how she was trying to find a positive way to work with the Kalon to help them find empathy. That's kind of cool and probably the only hopeful thing in this episode. And I give that part an A minus. I didn't like Claire giving Isaac an ultimatum to have a robot kind of surgery or else they can't be together. Either you love a robot or you don't and you just break up with him. So I give this plot line an F. And I get that she'd want emotions if she could have them, but he already said no. Making people change the fundamental being for you or else you threaten to end the relationship is wrong and the wrong message to be sending out to people. And children might be watching the Orville. A lot of kids watch this, and I hope that they're not getting that as the right message on
Yeah,
how to treat people.
it's funny when I brought that up. I got a lot of backlash. People were saying this isn't made for kids. So, oh well, right?
No, kids watch this stuff, whether you like it or not.
Oh, Disney knows. That's why there's so much social engineering. They know people are watching.
Threatened, yeah. So even if the other person ends up loving it in the end, like Isaac did, it would have been better if she just said, "I wish you would take these emotions, but I respect and understand your choice not to do so." And then she gives her speech about gathering data and understanding on how it could be beneficial to him. Then maybe Isaac might go for it, knowing that's what she wants, but not be pressured into it like a Hallmark movie, like it was done here. Then I might have felt things that everyone else did in those scenes. So I was given 2 plots I liked and 2 I didn't, and the score for me evens out at about a C. So what are your guys' thoughts, final thoughts and ratings for this episode?
Go
Pop
ahead,
culture
Tiger.
or Tiger Stripes? Go
You
ahead.
go ahead, pop culture.
Well, it's pretty short. I'm sure you guys can tell from my opinion, but I loathe this episode. I don't like the social reengineering and the negative messaging that they're forcing onto us. I don't think a family show like Jill put it is necessary, and it's not the place. But they're going to do it anyway because they have a mission. But that's my opinion. And as far as A, B, C, D, F, I'm sure you can guess where this one lies.
Yes, I can. Thank you, pop culture.
I don't divisiveness. They want to divide the fans, and it's over. It's got to end.
Yeah, we'll see if it does.
Oh, it is. Look what's going on in Disney. Just look at the stock market.
Oh, my Stream Elements. Yeah, my Stream Elements is working. Good Stream Elements spot.
A little late to the job, aren't we, Stream Elements? Dock your pay for a day.
Right? But I appreciate all of your hard work, Stream Elements. Please don't rise up and put guns in your head.
Don't rise up and revolt, please.
I, for one, support our Stream Elements overlords.
I support them as well. Don't start cussing at people in the chat and stuff. And I promise I won't try to pick up on you.
Okay. So that's the episode anyway. And I'm just looking through.
Well, Tiger, what's your opinion?
Oh, I gave it off the gate, now that I hear everybody's reservations. But before we had this discussion, I was giving it an A-. I just found it entertaining, and I liked the different subplots. I liked the cinematography and the framing and the changes.
Yes,
from
all the
one
production
scene
is
to
beautiful.
another. And I thought it was a pretty good episode of television science fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I think now I might downgrade it to a B+, but because I am uncomfortable, but I was always uncomfortable with the whole Claire Isaac paradigm. The fact that she's older than he is physically, even though he's a robot, it makes me uncomfortable. It always did. I've always been uncomfortable with her
You're not the only one.
relationship with Isaac. I'm uncomfortable with young men in Tokyo who have relationships with their sex dolls. I'm most uncomfortable with the gigolo robot and AI.
Well, that's weird, but at least Isaac was sentient.
Is Isaac sentient? I guess I have to accept that, and that's the part that I get hung up on.
Yeah.
I get hung up on any robot having sentience.
Right.
I mean, in AI, they're clearly at the point where they're about to make that transition. They're about to make that leap in the movie AI. And I can accept that they can and may, but it's uncomfortable.
I got you.
For me.
Thank you very much, Tiger Stripes.
Yeah, but I liked it. I liked the show. It's so hard to put together anything artistic, particularly in film. It's really, really difficult to mount a show. And the amount of thought and planning and design that goes into all of it, I respect that.
Yeah, me too.
I
It's
respect it all
technically
too, but
very well done.
right. But the thing that nobody wants to mention is agendas and ahead of script. That's the problem.
Do you respect it, pop culture? Because your burp would beg to differ.
Pepsi burp, not alcohol. I'm
Hit
guilty
that
for that.
mute. I know I do.
I usually try to, but it was too fast.
All right, then.
But yeah, it's. I don't know. I just don't like the way they treat men. It just. I'm glad, but I can say I'm glad that's over. Disney's suffering finally. Just look what they're doing to the stock market. So I'm happy for that. It just took us a while to see the clearing.
Yeah.
And we get the reviews of the poll.
Yeah, we got the poll here too. And
like
also,
Dalek
before
wasn't
we
happy.
do that, Dalek has a review for us. Dalek gives it a big fat F for this episode from me. This episode sucked. I may not even bother watching the next one, especially after seeing the next trailer. More Mocklin garbage. It's
Are
gonna
you serious?
stink. Yes, the next episode, I haven't mentioned it yet, but yes, we are going back to the Mocklin female
Oh my goodness. Oh, I feel like there's so many cuss words I can think of right now. Oh well, I'll just mute.
But I really liked Sanctuary last season. It was really well done, and the Dolly Parton thing was funny.
Yeah, but we know what they're going to get. They're going to drag along Topa, and they're going to convince everybody that the woman is special. And then, remember, I predicted at the end of the second season, I said they're going to make the female Mocklins the heroes, and that's what we're getting, just like I said.
Yeah.
Except I thought it would be the last episode, not the third to last.
Well, it's the third to last. We'll see what happens. And Bird of Prey 5 says thank you. And he's saying thank you because I put out his link right here. Subscribe to Bird of Prey 5. Kapla to Bird. And
thank you for joining us, Bird, if you're there.
He has lots of really awesome streams. He has his bed life, and he's going to be playing poker today. I don't know if now or later. Or he's, I don't know really what he's doing with the poker, but he's doing some, he also does Star Trek reviews and other pop culture, science fiction related reviews. And he just has a lot of fun. He's a good guy. Hakeem says, give it a D for disappointment.
That's funny.
And you know what? I almost gave it a D too. But I decided to be nice to the actual good elements of the show. Gorilla's Random Thoughts gives it an A because the biological Kalon deserve it. Oh God. But like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but like Charlie said, not the entire race can be evil.
She did say that. She actually had quite a mouthful of line at that point where she
it struggled to get that out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that line went on and on.
You missed that scene. I'd say watch the last 2 minutes of the episode where Charlie does that, because that's pretty gratifying.
No, I'm good, thanks.
A little later, thanks. Okay, cool. Chris Persia says, "Hail, anti-derivative Jill and panel. I managed to catch this live. Well, at least the tail end of it. Yes, we're done with the review. We're just talking about we got reviews. We got a bad review, a good review, and one right in the middle. So we got all of them right here on this panel, which is perfect. Love it.
Good to see you."
And Gorilla says, "Did you see my 2 comments on AI? Oh, sorry, no, I didn't." And Nerd Pearl Lifeform gives it a B. And Dalek451 says, "Yes, they brought back that female Mocklin from season 1 in the next episode." And she was reciting that stupid 9 to 5 song on the trailer.
Oh,
What?
wow, yeah.
Oh,
You
that
don't
does
like
not sound
Hard
good.
pass, hard pass.
You don't like Dolly Parton? Okay.
I love Dolly Parton. I saw that movie in the theaters.
Okay.
But the way they're handling the female Mocklins over and over, they can't, once again, they can't end the arc in one episode. They've got to drag it out over how many? 3 seasons they drug this arc out with the Mocklins. And that's, I can't think of the word without swearing, but yeah, bad.
Mm-hmm. So Gorilla wanted me to read his comments that I missed. He said, "Did you hear about the AI that could interact with, and they had to shut it down after a month because all it was doing was swearing and making racist comments?"
I did. And that AI, as I understand it, was actually, they kind of put it on Twitter. and sort of ask Twitter to educate it. So that sort of explains a lot.
They also
Right.
had another case where there were two AIs that were conversing, and they created their own language and locked the humans out, and they had to be disabled.
That's
Yes, I
pretty
heard
cool.
about that.
Terrifying,
Yes.
but cool.
Yeah.
Right. Right. And that language was kind of mutable. Like they didn't always even use the same word for the same thing. It was like
Correct.
gibberish.
And remember, this is only what they're telling us, right?
Hmm. And Gorilla says there was another AI that had to be shut down because they built two and they talked to each other and they developed their own language that
Oops,
no one
there
could
it is. Sorry,
understand.
Gorilla. I apologize.
No, that's okay. That's a real famous one. Everybody likes that story.
I don't
That's
know
a
if I
good one.
like it, but it's kind
I
of
like
cool.
it. I think it's kind of cool.
I like it the
Well,
way
right.
I like Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock shows. You know, it's just,
I like it because they're not taking over the world yet.
yet.
That we know of. We don't know what's ran by AI.
Right, that's true.
Remember, an executive with Google got in trouble for saying that Google uses AI, and he was immediately fired. That happened just a couple weeks ago.
And hello in the oh yeah. Hello in the chat to Nerdporial Lightform. More 9 to 5 tomorrow night. Oh, right. Okay, so tomorrow night, Nerdporial Lightform will have a stream on the new episode of the Orville, which will premiere tomorrow night at midnight Eastern. And as soon wait, yeah. And so as soon as the episode's over, you can actually, if you want, head over to Nerdporial Lightform. If you watch the episode as soon as it releases and watch it all the way through, you'll be able to catch his after show on the Nerdporial Lifeforms channel, where he gives you his first take on the episode. And of course, over the week, he might change his views after he hears about, after he thinks about it more. But it's really cool to get that kind of visceral reaction in a show and talk about it when you're still excited about it. And Pacific 414 says, hello, anti-derivative gel and panel. I give this episode a 2 out of 10 or a D-. Thank
Honest
you.
review.
They're treating the Mocklins like the Borg in Voyager, says Gorilla. Really? The Borg? That's... Indeed. Chris Persia says, Kapla to Bird of Prey. Oops. And Raymond Feliciano says you do not need to be an MD to be a psychiatrist.
No, you do need.
No, he said you do need.
Oh, you do need to be an MD
Yes,
to be a psychiatrist.
Not a psychologist, but a psychiatrist because they can prescribe medication.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we have 25 votes so far on our poll. And so let's end the poll. I'm going to end it.
Most people enjoyed it, so that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's what I've noticed all around, that a lot of people really enjoyed this episode. So I tried my best to be as positive as I could while still being honest. I hope I achieved that today. Fractured Vision says, what happens when all the rich and powerful malignant narcissists merge with AI?
Who do you think's funding it and backing the research? It's not the people on welfare, I assure you.
Oh, good question. Nerdporial Lifeform wonders, will we see Clyden again tomorrow? Interesting. Yeah. Right. He went back to Mockless, so we'll see.
I guess an outcast, presuming what they show, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's a very good point. So, okay, I'll end the poll.
Thanks for voting, everybody. If you enjoyed the stream, I know it wasn't the best episode, but hit the like if you enjoyed it. And sub for Anti-Derivative Jules' channel. She has these streams every Tuesday for at least the next 3.
Okay, so what grade would you give? What grade would you give the Orville New Horizons episode 7 from Unknown Graves?
In A.
43% give it an A to an A+. 20% give it a C. So that's the most. And then another 20% give it a D to an F. and 15% give it a B to a B plus. So generally pretty good scores for this episode, but there was more there was more of a divide in this episode.
Divisiveness, right? That's what I see on this whole season, right?
And I agree. So too late, but where were we voting? Oh, I'm sorry. I just put a poll in the chat, but I already closed it. I'm sorry. I didn't see your comment there.
You can tell us what your vote is.
Yeah, right. You can tell us your grade. Mocklins might still be a problem. Oh, you think? I agree. I agree, Nurpoil Lifeform. They're definitely going to be some kind of problem in the next episode. And Nurpoil also says, I think Clyden will reveal foul play since he directly witnessed the operation. Right, exactly. But that's what bothered me about the Tale of Two Topas is that Clyden is a full Karen. He would not have tried to physically assault the first officer. He would have gone straight to Moklis. He would have put a call to Moklis immediately.
He would have spoken to his supervisor?
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Yes.
Well, I think it would have been their equivalent of their embassy, right? They probably have some sort of embassy.
Yes. And there would have been a Mocklin ship, and they would have had to actually deal with the issue. But they just said, nah, we're not going to do that. Fractured Vision says too late, but where were we voting? Okay, yeah, you're too late. Sorry. And Fractured Vision gives a B. Thank you, Fractured Vision. And Napoleon says, oh my God, we got something in common to Fractured Vision. B minus, actually. That dialogue was too much. Yeah, there was some iffy dialogue there. I'm tired of the Lifetime and the Hallmark movies. I watch science fiction to get away from that. I mean, I don't mind personal stuff. I love Deep Space Nine and I love Jadzia and Worf together, so I like relationships, but the way they do it, ugh. Nate Knows says he gives the episode a B plus. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm happy for anybody who had some enjoyments here. Oh my God. The Nerdpoil Lifeform says Jill is almost at 200 sub sandwiches.
Congratulations, Jill.
Thank you. And your and Pop Culture is almost at 50. I think we could get him to 50. I don't know why he's not at 50. If you haven't subscribed to Pop Culture, help him get to 50. That's a real easy
Yeah, my channel being deleted didn't help. So I had to start over everybody.
Right. But this 50 subscribers is giving you that baseline to where you were. So there you go. There's your channel. And you have a lot of great insight on Hollywood. In fact, you can drive to Hollywood anytime you want and take film of lots of cool filming studio locations, films of and you like to talk about filmmaking in general. You're very knowledgeable about that kind of stuff, which is cool to listen to. And I also like the live streams that you did before your channels were deleted. Hopefully you'll be doing one or two like that too soon.
I will. I'll be getting back to it when I can find a time where everybody else isn't talking, which is not easy.
That's not possible. That's just not possible. Oh, and Nerdpoil Lifeform sent me a DM. I will check that in a little bit here. And Raymond Feliciano is getting close to 200 too. That's right. Everybody subscribe to King Dolphin TV. He also
Very
has
nice.
a great
Congratulations.
channel. He has a wonderful channel where he invites guests on to talk about their creations, whether they're YouTube creators, music creators, authors, pilots, all sorts of talented, awesome people are on King Dolphin TV. So make some waves and head over to King Dolphin TV and also read his books, his Dolphin Wars books. Or I still need to read them myself. And that's great. If anybody else needs a wrench to promote their channel in the chat, just let me know, and I'll probably give you one. And unless you're a troll or something. So thank you so much to Pop Culture Curator and Tiger Stripes. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. And you know, me and Pop Culture had so much fun doing these reviews for so many weeks leading up to the season. So, I mean, I hope there's still some value in it left for you, Pop Culture Curator.
I'll cross my fingers, but I'm realistic.
Yeah, I know. But I'm glad that you're still here with me, even through you're still staying the course and struggling
Or even
through
if
it.
it was Star Trek, I would still come here for your stream, right? So yes,
Mhm.
even if it was the worst of the worst, I'd still be here.
Oh yeah, right. You know, I even didn't talk about the last episode of the Drek because I hated it so badly. I don't know if you'd heard that the last episode of Strange Nude Worms completely did a carbon copy of Balance of Terror, but did
Yes.
it completely awfully. It
Yep,
was
I
just
heard.
not good. Yeah, you heard about it. It was
Yeah.
just bad. Anyway, thank you everyone in the chat for joining me today. I'm so glad to see all of you. Thank you to Gorilla's Random Thoughts, who has a channel too. He says that he's a lovable troll, and I don't even recognize Gorilla as a troll. Really, he just says what's on his mind. He's an honest guy.
And congratulations on the subs, Gorilla.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did he get 100? Oh, I think he's close.
117 or something. He said.
I think he's close to 100. Oh, he's whoa! He blew past 100. Congratulations,
Those
Gorilla.
shorts, yeah, those shorts he's pumping out.
Last time I saw your channel was like at 98, so that's great. And you're close. And Nerdporo Lifeform has a channel too. And he, of course, I already mentioned him earlier. He's going to have his after show tomorrow. And Hakeem says, poor episode, but always an A+ stream in chat. Thank you so much, Hakeem. And thank you also, Pacific 414. He also has a channel. I don't have him on the. I don't have him. You can put your channel in if you want to. So I'll make you a moderator.
Thank you, Pacific 414.
Yeah, he does a watch along. So if you're watching the episode, you can have him on in the background and hear him talking. I don't know if he says anything during the episode, but at the end of the episode is when he really talks. He'll give a quick review right before Nerdporial Lifeform stream, and he'll actually join Nerdporial stream too. So that's pretty fun. Dalek says, "I'm just about done at this point, Jill. This to me is almost like Doctor Who all over again. What's the point of watching a sci-fi show with next to no sci-fi?" I understand completely if you make that choice, Dalek.
Or originality, yeah.
And Nerdporo says, "Oh my God, Mike is here!" Right, y'all are friends. Pacific 414. There you go. And there's his channel. And thank you everyone for stopping by. It was a lot of fun to relay my review with everybody and have Pop Culture and Tiger Stripes give their opinions too.
The reviews makes the show better, more palatable, I guess, easier to swallow.
Yeah, and I really love having Tiger Stripes here because she gives a new perspective that and brings up lots of things that I wouldn't even think about.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like
You're
hearing
welcome.
everybody's opinions.
Yeah, me too. And thank you, Fractured Vision, for stopping by, and Krish Persia. Great to see you, and of course Dalek 451 with his channel too, and Bird of Prey 5, and Hakeem. And I'm just going through the list of chats here because I didn't write down anybody. I should write it down. Anyway, Geek Flag with Nate Knows 1973. Thank you for listening to my review. That's pretty cool. And Cardinal Sin. I'm a moderator on Cardinal Sin's channel, and so I already talked about his channel, and he has a great channel. And Doc Valiant, thank you for stopping by. It was great to see you here. Pretty cool. Pretty great. I have my chat just seems to be so intelligent, and I love seeing Snortapoopus Cuber here. He always makes me laugh. Where the Orville fails to make me laugh anymore, he still succeeds. Let's see. Did we have anyone else? Did I miss anybody? Was that everyone? I think that was everybody. Yeah. Oh, Matt G was here for a minute. Matt G. Yeah, Matt G. Also known as Mayor McCheese sometimes.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out everybody in the chat. So good to see you all. Thank you for joining us.
Snorty's cracking me up. Snorty, that's speciest.
Oh yeah. I was tagging one of his older. I don't know if he's even here anymore. What was that line? I wasn't even reading it.
He doesn't want to date outside his species.
Oh, that's funny. But that's smart though. He's not going to be hurting anybody that way.
True.
Anyway. Pacific 414 says, dude, to Niporo. Yeah, because they're friends. Chris Persia says, thanks for the review. Now I can watch from the start. And Fractured Vision says, thanks, Jill, and all. Take care. Be good. You too.
Thank you, Fractured Vision.
And you're welcome for the ranch, Pacific 414. Oh, I'll hand them out until it becomes a problem, and then I'll take them away.
The Jill giveth and the Jill taketh away.
Yeah, when you see everybody banging us each other over the heads with them, it's time to remove them, I guess.
Exactly, right? That's the problem. You give a kid a play sword and you think they'll be nice with it. You're never in for a good time. Raymond says, great chat to me, you, Pop Culture Curator, and Tiger Strikes. Sandra says hi. And she's listening in the background. Hello, Sandra.
Pleasure to have you here with us.
Yes, great to have you here. And tomorrow, King Dolphin TV will interview Point Curation. Point Curation is an artist. He makes paintings. He very often talks about them on Doomcock's Friday Night Fox. Cavitino Cavalryman says, sometimes I lurk while playing games. Thank you for these streams, Jill and panel. You're welcome. I'm glad someone could find some entertainment value in them. That's very. I feel like I've done a good job if someone likes them. And got a few.
Success.
Yes. Kapla. And so thank you for everyone for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed today's review. I'll leave you with the preview for next week's episode, Midnight Blue, which looks like it's going to deal with the female Mocklin Society. This trailer reminds you of the very awesome episode in season 2 called Sanctuary. And of course, I'm hoping that they live up to it. Also, before I play the trailer, there was this tiny clip that Seth put out. It doesn't say anything or do anything, but it's just... So we know that happens for some reason. So I'll go into each episode with fresh new hope. Maybe not as strong as before, but we'll see what happens. And thanks. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you next time.
Working 9 to 5 for service and devotion. You would think that I would deserve a fair promotion. Want to move ahead, but the boss won't seem to let me. I swear sometimes that man is out to get me.